Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Awaken his sacred gear earlier and becomes the Crimson Purgatory Dragon Part 1. Before we start, please go support ShinjiHimejima for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Prologue. We are in the city of Kuo, a quiet city for anyone who wants peace and quiet, but anyway, we focus on a forest on the outskirts of the city, where we see a 6-year-old brown-haired boy, while playing at being a knight and using a branch as if it were his sword while he was running when he stumbles and falls, starting to roll. When he finished rolling, he tried to get up, but when he got up and took the first step, he fell on another rock and fainted from the blow he received. Dream. You can see a white place and it had no end, but we can see a brown-haired boy lying on the white floor and then getting up in pain and starting to look around, seeing that there is nothing else apart from him. The white room suddenly flames begin to emerge everywhere, surprising the little brown-haired boy and then starting to change the white place to a volcanic place, and cracks began to emerge where lava began to come out and magma sprouted, which also surprised a brown-haired boy and more because he did not burn due to the lava but began to feel heat. Suddenly a great roar was heard from a dragon that made the whole place tremble. Then staggered the brown-haired boy and make him fall, and a large crack will begin to emerge, and lava will fall through the crack, and then a great fluttering will be heard, and through the crack, it will come out like a blur towards the sky and disappear, and then appear in front of the brown-haired boy, a red dragon with black scales and green eyes, as if they were two very bright emeralds, but with dark touches with its open wings where they were seen red with black touches, and then put them away to then send a fixed look to Issei, as if it were analyzing him. So you are my new carrier, I'm surprised that we already communicated, so you must be someone interesting, what is your name? He said with a serious tone and without looking away. Issei. Ah yes, my name is Issei Hyoudou, and what is yours? Since you mean that I am your new carrier, Mr. Dragon. Drag. Haha, you are an interesting boy, Hyoudou Issei, and well, answering your questions, my name is Drag, the Red Emperor Dragon, and the second question, well, if you are my new bearer, so you are the new Sekiryu, the bearer of the Red Emperor Dragon, he said, while relaxing his gaze. Issei. Nice to meet you, Drag-sama, and well, I would like to know why I am the new Sekiryu. Drag. Okay boy, at least you have manners, so I'll tell you, but what I tell you, you don't have to tell anyone. So he began to tell him about the faction war and about the battle with the white, and then he told him how they sealed him with the white, and finally he explained about the sacred gear and what he is locked in. Issei. Fantastic, I didn't know that the supernatural existed, and about your battle with the white, and about the death of God and the 4 original Mau, and that other humans can also carry a sacred gear. He said it all with great interest about wanting to know more about the supernatural. Drag. Yes, pup, but well, back to the main thing, since you are now my carrier and you just woke me up, the supernatural world will be upon you, since the demons seek to reincarnate humans with sacred gear or other beings. Although there are also renegade demons who seek to kill them, like a few fallen angels, and the angels are looking for a system to reincarnate humans into angels, so the problem would be the demons and fallen angels. I offer to train you so that you are strong and can defend yourself, but first of all, a question, what would you use the power for, pup? Issei. So I can protect my loved ones and the people I love, he said with a firm and determined voice. Drag. I like your answer, puppy, so I have a suggestion for you. Issei. And that would be? I asked him curiously. Drag. I offer you my power so that you can protect your loved ones and the people you love. Issei. I like the idea, so I accept, while giving a half smile at the end. Drag. Haha, okay puppy, but for you to have my power or yours, we need you to train your body, since you wouldn't be able to handle it and you will die. Issei. Okay, then will you help me train? Drag. Of course, puppy, after all, it's my power and I'm the only one who knows how to use it. Issei. Well, when will we start training? Drag. Tomorrow, and I think you need to wake up now, pup. Issei. Well, but how would we communicate? I asked him doubtfully. Drag. Calm down, puppy, we can communicate through your mind since you just woke me up and you still can't summon the boosted gear. Issei. Okay, and how do I wake up? Drag. Hey puppy, this is just a dream. Just wake up, he said while he had a drop on his temple. Issei. Well thanks Drag, he said as he disappeared. Drag. Well, now to sleep a little, since tomorrow we will begin with the training, although it surprises me that the puppy has arrived to this cave, hahaha. In the future, now it will be a meeting worthy of the white against me, a worthy opponent, our battle will be legendary, hahaha. End of dream. Meanwhile, outside the chestnut tree's dream, we found ourselves in the cave where Issei fell. He was getting up, half in pain from the big blow he received. Issei. Oh, that really hurt while rubbing some parts of his body but look what we have ooh cheap whistle with bad effects, production it's a big cave, but now how do I get out while looking at the cave to find an exit until he notices a light that illuminated a part of the cave, then the brown-haired boy decides to get closer to see what it was. As he got closer he noticed that they were two rusty swords stuck in a cross, but he felt Drag's aura coming from one of the swords and another aura from the other sword, and then his left hand began to hurt and a green orb appeared, and then he heard Drag's voice. Drag. Issei, it seems that you found the cave where one of my bearers hid the sword that I created with one of my scales, along with the sword of Albion, that we managed to create with an orb of his armor, along with Dragon Slayer magic. Issei. Did you know that I fell into this cave where the swords they created were? Drag. Hahaha yes pup, even if you weren't my carrier you would have fallen here too, so feel worthy of having those two swords with you so go and take them. Issei, listening to Drag, went for the swords and then grabbed the rusty sword where he felt Drag's aura and took it out to make a diagonal cut with one hand, and then there would be a great glow in the cave to blind Issei for a moment and then he could appreciate the sword well. Issei. Wow haha the sword looks great while examining the sword or rather katana and appreciating the edge hey Drag, and how am I going to keep it? Drag. You can physically store it with the holster that appeared on your hip or if you don't want to carry it, I can store it in the boosted gear. Issei. Okay, then save it Drake because if I come back home with a gun my mom will kill me he said this while he had a drop in his temple. Drake. It's okay puppy and calm down, I'll do the same with the other one when you grab her. Issei thank you Drake while he took the other kanata and the same thing happened as before with the other one and he appreciated it so that later Drake could save it by the way Drake, how do I get out of here? Drake. Well, simple pup, climb the cave where you fell and that's it. Issei. Seriously while he fell on his back sigh well it will serve as training. Drake. Well said pup while giving him a thumbs up from the boosted gear. Issei. Haha, but well let's start while approaching the rock wall well here we go. 2000 years later. The city of Kuo was already beginning to get dark and a chestnut tree was just coming out of a cave and a great climb that was taken by stupid Okno welcome to bad jokes with ShinjiHimejima hahaha. Issei. There I was finally able to get out while shaking the dust on his hands, clothes and hair shit it's getting late, I have to go back soon or my mother will kill me. As he began to run through the forest until he got out of there and ran through the city and passed through a park where he crashed into a tree while avoiding a game. Issei. Ah curse while he rubbed his face from the blow and began to run again to get to his house and some time later be at the door of his house and enter through the door and take off his shoes. Issei. Mom, Dad, I'm home as he began to walk down the hall to check the living room Mom, Dad he asked again when he didn't see them in the living room and then walked to the kitchen and saw a note on the table. Issei, we had some business to resolve with the family since your grandmother became ill and they told us that she might not be able to last any longer so we decided to go see her and be able to say goodbye to her and send her your farewell so we don't know when we'll be back maybe in a day, a week or even a month. We don't know since you know that your grandmother is strong and might last a few days, so we left you money for a month or more just in case, so that you can feed yourself and buy things that you need, so take care of yourself son while we're gone, and please don't destroy the house. With love, your parents. Issei. Ah how bad but oh well I always loved my grandmother and I'm happy with those moments while folding the note and putting it in a drawer well I'll take a bath to go rest and train tomorrow, well a roar was heard, but first have dinner haha to order a pizza and do what was said before and then lie down in his bed and fall asleep. Dream Pav. Issei. The moment I closed my eyes I appeared in a dark place, I don't know where I am, but I can't do anything but walk and walk without any destination or so I thought. From one moment to the next, a strong bright light began to emerge and became more and more intense until it blinded my vision for a moment. From the darkness I was in before, now I find myself in a place on fire everywhere, I thought it had something to do with that dragon I saw in the morning in that cave, I think its name is Drag. From one moment to the next, a loud flapping sound was heard all over the place, along with a loud roar from a powerful dragon, until I could see in the distance the imposing dragon of the morning in front of me with a serious expression. Normal. Drag. It's good to see you again kid, plus I called you here because I wanted to get to know my youngest carrier better, so I'm all ears, tell me about yourself. Issei. You can't just see my memories since you're in my mind and all. Drag. I already did, but I think it's a better way to get to know you this way, after all we are partners, right Ibo? Issei. Heh, I think you're quite right so let's do our best to be a powerful Sekurute, so count on me Ibo well he sat in front of Drag and gave him a smile. And that's where a great conversation began that lasted all night, well, Issei's dream where Issei and Drag would put part of both, to have a good teamwork in the future, in addition to that a new friendship began. The next morning, you see Issei lying on the floor still sleeping while drooling, and then the alarm starts to sound, scaring Issei in the process, and he tries to get up but ends up hitting his head on a piece of furniture he had around, and then the things he had fall. Issei. Oh well, rubbing his head. I think that next time I'll tell her to talk during the day, since I'm having a good sleep while yawning. Well, I think we'll start with this training. So changing clothes to start his training, in addition to eating a small light breakfast, leaving his house to head to the forest to find a good training place. An unexpected event. We found ourselves in the forest where Issei is looking for a place where he can train quietly and without problems. He continued like this for another half hour until he found a place where it was spacious and he could train without difficulties. Issei. A perfect place to train without problems, right Drag. I agree with you, buddy. Well, changing the subject and enough chatter, I'll tell you how you'll do your training. You'll start by running around the place until it's noon, where you'll stop for a while to start doing some exercises like squats, push-ups, and sit-ups 100 each, to finally end up going around again to finish your training for the day. I finished by saying Drag while looking at Issei with my eyes open and my mouth open, and then said don't you want me to do bars too? Drag. Very good idea, you will do it too. So that later Issei had a poker face and said you're a jerk. Well, there's no other choice, so let's start, and then he listened to what Drag had said previously and followed each of the instructions. Some time later, already at dusk or already at nightfall. The little boy is seen finishing his laps around the place and then collapsing to the ground, trying to catch his breath and rest for a while before going home. Issei. Damn, I didn't think I would end up so tired and sore in my arms and legs. Damn, overdeveloped lizard, you will pay for this. Well, he looked at his left arm and then tried to get up and head home, but not before marking a path or signs and symbols on the trees to return to that place without problems of getting lost. Hyoudou residence. The chestnut is seen entering through the door and then heading to the bathroom to take a bath with hot water to relax his body. The little chestnut could be seen under the shower while the hot water fell on his face to go to his body. Issei. How good it feels. Drag. Buddy, I'm sorry for interrupting your bath, but I forgot to tell you that every month that you finish your training, your exercises will double. Well, that was all, so I'm leaving. He finished by saying Drag so that later, in the chestnut's mind, a small Drag in chibi mode could be seen jumping until he was lost from sight. So that later Issei had another poker face, but something unexpected happened. He slipped in the shower and tried to grab the bathroom curtain and stopped and was about to stop, but suddenly the curtain broke from where he was holding on to fall on his face and hit himself hard. No, and then the pipe where the curtain was fell on him. Then Issei could be seen coming out of the bathroom with a bump on his head, but what could also be seen was that he was wearing a towel like the tunic of the Greeks, and then he went to his room and changed into comfortable clothes and went to the kitchen to prepare a very good dinner worthy of him for being the bearer of the Red Emperor, a mystical, powerful and imposing being that would cause terror and respect. So he prepared a cereal with milk. Now cuddle, sleep. Okay, I'll do a time jump. So 1 month after. The chestnut could be seen returning from his training routine and heading home, since his parents were returning today after being out of town, and he wanted to see them again. A few minutes later. The brown-haired boy was seen almost reaching his house. He only needed 1 block to get there, and he saw that a car was parked in front of his house. And upon recognizing the car, he increased his pace to get there faster, but then what he didn't realize was that a spear of light was being directed at the car. When he noticed that, he began to run to be able to stop the spear by stretching his left arm as he wanted to reach it, and then the boosted gear appeared in its last phase, and then boost explosion would be heard. The direct his hand where the boosted gear was to his legs and transfer would be heard so that later he would increase his speed more, but it was too late. The spear fulfilled its objective, hitting the car and causing a large explosion that reached the residence, also causing an explosion that sent Issei flying. Well, he watched it in slow motion as everything happened and then crashed into the wall of a house and then returned to normal the speed of his sight and not see what was heading at high speed. A piece of glass and buried itself on his right arm, but as he was still stunned by what happened a few moments ago, he did not have time to avoid it since his gaze was fixed on where his parents were. Drag. Buddy, are you okay? Issei. No Drag, I have a piece of glass buried in my right arm. Drag. We can't heal you right now since people are approaching the place and they can see the boosted gear, so we have to go to a remote place where we can be calmer so you can heal yourself. Issei. Damn, we can go to the place where I train. Then he turned his left hand and tried to grab the piece, but at the first touch he gave it writhed in pain and then started to bleed. Shit, how it hurts. Drag. Buddy, we'll have to leave, we can't stay any longer. When we get to the place we'll take out the piece of glass, but right now we can't because they're getting closer. Issei. Damn, okay. So then he walked away, but not before seeing for the last time where his parents were and noticing a shadow that could be seen in the flames of his home. Ah shit, my boss is going to kill me just for wanting to do things quickly since I was just a brat, although maybe he will forgive me for discovering that the brat is the bearer of the boosted gear. While in another more specific place at the entrance of the forest, you could see a chestnut tree walking slowly and then entering it to continue walking for a while until reaching the place where it trains. Issei. Ah shit, Drag, we're here, what do I have to do to heal myself? Drag. Well, you'll have to take out the piece. When you no longer have it, you'll have to make some increases and transfer them to your arm so that it heals, but I'm just telling you that you'll have a scar since you won't have as much magical power. Issei. Well, it doesn't matter as long as my arm is healed, so here we go. Boost, 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 explosion. Drag. Wow, buddy, you surprise me that you can withstand those increases and have the boosted gear in all this time that has passed at your age. In the future you will surely be the strongest bear. Issei. I assure you that, Drag, you will be respected like when you were alive and you will not have a ridiculous nickname like the Chichirite haha. But well, what was Drag doing? And then he directed his arm where the boosted gear was and touched the wound, and Drag's voice would sound saying, transfer, so that later the wound would begin to heal little by little. Drag. Buddy, what happened for all that to happen? Issei. I don't know, Drag, but the one who killed my parents has to be someone who has to do with the supernatural and from a faction, although I don't think it's an angel who killed my parents since they would become a fallen one, so it has to be a fallen angel who killed them. Drag. Very good guess, mate, and I agree with you, it surely had to be a fallen angel, since angels can fall very quickly, since just by having perverted thoughts they would already be falling. Issei. So they are suck-ups, but changing the subject, I will have to train more so that I can raise your name in the supernatural and you can be respected again. Drag. You will say respected companion since you are my bearer and you will be respected and both of you will be respected. Issei. I assure you that, but now where can we train, partner, since I don't have a home and my parents just died. Drag. I know someone who can help us with that, so we just have to call him and ask him to train you. Issei. Well, then how can we contact him, partner? Drag. In the forest there is a place where he connects with the supernatural and it is close to the place, so I think we will be able to contact him more easily. Issei. Okay, just tell me where I have to go so we can call him. Drag. Do you remember in the cave where you found the swords? Issei. Yes. Drag. Well, that's not it. Issei. Aha, and then? Drag. How bitter. Issei. Well, you say that at a time like this after what happened a few moments ago. Drag. Sorry, I forgot, but it was to ease the tension. Issei. Well, but where is the place I have to go? Drag. Well, you just have to go to a place where there is a supernatural being like a renegade demon or a fallen angel, and then you kill it, and then we just send magical power as a signal, but we are going to make it so that the dragons feel it more, so that they feel that we are calling them, and they arrive faster than the other factions, so don't screw it up. Issei. I'm not screwing up, there's just a change of plans. Drag. Yes, they only make things worse. Issei. Well then I just have to go kill the being that is there and we send the signal and that's it. Drag. Exactly. Issei. But how the hell do I kill the bastard or the bastard without him killing me? I'm not going to go and say hey, I'm coming to kill you. I don't know how to fight or use a weapon. Drag. That's why we're going to use a few weeks to prepare you. Issei. Ah damn, but let's do it. Drag. That's the attitude, buddy, but tomorrow, since it's night time, it's time for bed to go to sleep, as the Totopo would say. Issei. It's a topo, yo idiot, and where am I going to sleep and how the hell do I deactivate the boosted gear? Drag. Ah well, right there or on a tree branch, and you can deactivate it thinking that you don't have it, and that's it. Issei. Good and good night to deactivate the boosted gear and settle down on the trunk where he was and then fall asleep. Drag. Good night, mate, at least he didn't complain as I expected and then fell asleep anyway. The next day. Issei. Ah well, stretching and yawning at the same time. Well, let's see what we find for breakfast. As I began to look for something to eat for breakfast, a few minutes later a small chestnut tree could be seen picking up some apples that it found lying around. Issei. Good, now how can I take them without having to carry them all the time to stay for a while? Thinking about a way until some time later or half-brain burned out, he came up with the idea of making a bag with his shirt to put the apples inside. Good, everything ready, let's investigate for a while longer to see if I find something else to eat. So he was searching for a while longer until he found something that caught his attention, something that reflected the light, and he could feel the fresh air caress his face, and he continued walking to that place that he felt was calling him, and he arrived and saw a lake that had a river that joined it, and then he got closer and saw that the water of the lake looked clear, and you could see fish swimming in it. Then he grabbed a branch of a tree almost straight and grabbed a rock and began to take out a sharp tip to be able to hunt some fish. Once he finished his spear, he took off his shoes along with the part that remained of his sports uniform and was left in his underwear, and then he entered the lake and looked for a fish that he could hunt. A few minutes later, some dead fish could be seen on the side of the lake, and then a soaked chestnut tree appeared with a spear and a few fish stuck in it. Issei. It was a little difficult even though I almost drowned, but I already have food haha, so I could get closer to his clothes that were with the shirt and the apples that he had picked and see that some were lying outside his shirt so someone was here. No, it doesn't matter, let's prepare these fish because I'm so hungry. So that he would leave his spear stuck thanks to ideas in 5 minutes and look for some branches along with some rocks and some leaves to make a bonfire where he could cook them, but not before putting on his clothes with anything good except for his shirt that had the apples inside, and then return to the place where his other things were to prepare the bonfire and use 2 stones to get sparks, and the leaves would burn so that they would start to burn and burn the branches, and place his spear along with the fish and start cooking them like that he was for a while until they were ready so that he could eat them. Issei. Not even a little chef cooks like me to take a bite of the fried fish he feasted to put out the fire and continue eating to finish what he had collected for breakfast. How full I'm fine. I think I'll swim for a while to take off his clothes again and dive into the water to start swimming for a while. While that was happening in another place nearby, you could see a girl about 9 or 10 years old, wearing a cute pink dress that reached below her knees and fit her waist, along with sandals that matched her dress, and long black hair tied in 2 pigtails that reached her waist, along with beautiful purple eyes that went with her white skin color. I just wanted to investigate the forest a little before returning home, but I ended up getting lost. How stupid I am. While making a small pout inflating her cheeks, she continued walking for a while until she could see a river. Let's see if following the river I can get out of this forest. And she continued walking until she reached the end of the river and saw that there was a lake that connected them, being amazed by the beautiful view she had, but she noticed that there was something floating near the shore, so she decided to go investigate what was floating in the lake, so she got closer and saw that it was a person. More specifically, a brown-haired boy floating, letting himself be guided by the small current that was in the lake, while a small row of ducks followed him. Wow, he sure enjoys being in the lake, but I need to get out of this forest soon, because if not my parents will scold me. Apart from the scolding I will get for having run away from them, haha, so this excuse me, could you help me? Issei. Eda stopped floating and stand up and let the ducks pass and turn to see the one who was calling him and see that it was a girl of about 9 or 10 years old with black hair and beautiful purple eyes with long hair tied in 2 pigtails, one on each side that reached her waist and were tied with a fuchsia ribbon, and that she had a cute pink dress with matching sandals, which made her look prettier than she already was, staring into her eyes with her mouth open. Issei. Whoa, beautiful. I say hello he this but how pretty you are. I say my name is Issei Hyoudou. Issei, and you? Well, the girl blushed at Issei's compliments. Drag. Noseborn, what a gentleman. This is thanks. While playing with his fingers and looking away to the other side, Hinata style, also because our protagonist was in his underwear, and my name is Serafal Citri. Issei. Apart from being pretty, a pretty name. Whoa, what's missing is that you have a younger sister and that she's pretty like her sister. Serafal. In fact, I do have a younger sister and she is also pretty, obviously just like me. Well, she still had a blush decorating her cheeks. Issei. How nice, double prize, I mean wow I didn't expect that one. And what's your sister's name? Serafal. Ito. Well, she put a finger on her cheek and remained in a thoughtful pose. Sotan, well it's Ona, I just call it Sotan. Breg. From here it smells like a future Siskona. Issei. What did you say, Drag? Breg. Nothing. Issei. Oh good. Issei. Well, changing the subject, how did you get here? Serafal. So I got lost. Well, Issei fell on his back. Issei. Oh, what was missing, so you got lost and you know how to get out? Serafal. Nope. Issei. Well, letting out a heavy sigh. Okay, let's go, I'll get you out of here, but first I have to put on some clothes because it's cold. Serafal. Good, and thanks for helping me, while giving him a reference. Issei. You're welcome, besides, it's about to get dark, so let's go. As he began to walk out of the forest. Besides, I think your parents will scold you. As Serafal began to follow him. Oh, don't even remind me. A small shiver ran down her spine. Issei. Haha, it seems that your parents are strict. Serafal. Something something hahaha well he had a smile from ear to ear. Ito, excuse me for butting in, but what about your parents? Well, the brown-haired boy stopped to lower his head and smile a little as he remembered the happy moments he spent with them. They are in a better place. Serafal. Without understanding what Issei meant. Issei. I'll tell you what happened when we left the forest, to give him a half smile and continue walking. A story later and near the exit of the forest. Issei. And that was what happened, and then he fled the place and arrived at this forest. Serafal. Oh, I'm so sorry and sorry for asking you that. Issei. Don't worry, if my father saw me sad he would say something like, hey, are you a princess who needs a prince? No, you be the prince that the princess needs, or are you not a man? Well, I imagine he would say something like that. Serafal. Your parents were really fun. Issei. Yes, and my mother bothered me that when she gets older, she gives her cute and beautiful grandchildren who carry the nickname Hyoudou with happiness. Serafal. Haha, a classic for moms. Issei. Yes, the truth is yes. Serafal. That's Ice-chan. Issei. Ice-chan. Serafal. It bothers you that I call you that way. Issei. No, it's not that, it's just that there was almost no one who would call me that apart from my best friend who left. Serafal. Well, Ice-chan, I was going to ask you how you feel about your parents passing away. Issei. How do I feel? I don't know, I felt sad for a while, but I started to think if I should continue being sad. Besides, I still have a friend who is with me and who is helping me. Also, when I was sleeping I felt a breeze that caressed my cheek and heard some words that said, don't suffer for this. You know that we love you, and that even if we are not with you, we will take care of you, so goodbye my sweet son, we love you, so take care of yourself my son, and then I fell deeply asleep. Serafal. Wow, you surprise me. Anyone else in your place would still be sad. Issei. Well, I'm a different case, haha. Well, we've reached the end of the forest, from here you already know the way, right? Serafal. Yes, thank you Ice-chan, and well, I hope to see you another day. Issei. Yes, I also hope to see you again. Serafal. Well, I think I'll be staying for a few weeks, so I guess I can come see you. Issei. Oh sure, no problem, but what time will you come? Serafal. How about midday? Issei. Perfect, sounds good to me. Serafal. Well then it will be at noon. Issei. Yes, while giving him a smile. Serafal. Well, we'll meet here at noon so I don't get lost again, and well, before I leave to approach Issei and give him a kiss on the cheek and run away to then yell at him, I'll also bring food. While Issei had a massive blush that could be mistaken for a tomato to direct a hand and touch her cheek, where she was kissed and put on a smile and watch as she disappeared from his sight and then returned to the lake where she was. Meanwhile, in the boosted gear there was a Drake watching what just happened and then saying oh, love, and then settling down and taking another restful sleep. The beginning of a new friendship. A new day begins in the city of Kuo, a very quiet and peaceful city, a beautiful place to live. In the distance of the mountains you could see the sun rising, giving the city a beautiful view and starting a new day for all its inhabitants, disturbing a few since they would have to return to their daytime chores like going to work and studying. Well, deep in the forest of Kuo City, a chestnut tree can be seen trotting to continue exploring the forest and also to improve its stamina. Being like that for a long time and then returning to the lake where he is temporarily living since his home burned down and his parents died for a strange reason, and seeing how the sun could barely reflect as a new day began and smile since he would see Serafal and could spend some time with her. But he would not have to forget his training since he needed to train and needed a few weeks to at least be able to defeat a fallen angel or a renegade demon as Drake had told him, so then continue on his way and start doing sit-ups, so when he finished he could start with squats and push-ups. When he finished those exercises he could start hitting and kicking a tree Rock Lee style, even though he hurt his knuckles and part of his legs, but endure the pain to be the best Sekiryuite and the best Drake bear. That was his plan for the day until noon, to take a shower in the lake and change, to go to the entrance. Well, that was happening in the forest. In the city it was something else. Asa Citri temporary home, or rather mansion. In one of the rooms of the Great Citri Mansion you can see a room decorated with a few magical girl Milky Spiral 7 posters. The room can be painted purple or pink. The truth is I do not know what color to choose, so I put those two. Choose the one you want, where you can clearly see toys that a little girl plays with, without clearly missing a Max Tilakno. Well, as we continue to clearly see a large bed, to see a large ball of tangled blankets and see only some feet peeking out, and then an alarm would start to sound that marks 12 o'clock of the day. That meant one thing. Serafal. Ah, how lazy, it's still too early for the head of a cute girl with pink eyes to peek out. What color do you want them, since in the old animation they are pink and in the hero they are blue, so I don't know which one to put with messy and tangled hair, so she could direct a hand to the alarm clock and pay for it. Well, problem solved, so go to sleep. so that he would close his eyes for a while until he realized something very important that he had forgotten. Serafal. It can't be, I'm late to go with Ice-chan, and all you see on the ceiling of the room are some blankets slowly coming down, while you see an airy silhouette of a girl, and then it disappears. While in the hallway of the Citri mansion you could see maids calmly doing their homework, then you could hear a girl screaming she's late, and a gust of air was seen heading to the bathroom. After a few minutes a girl came out again in a robe heading to her room quickly, but something happened while she was running, and she just got to the door of her room. But since her feet were still wet she slipped and continued straight crashing into a door that was just opened. Serafal. I tie rubbing her head while with the other she grabs her robe so it doesn't fall. That to close the door. Oh one Isama, it's getting late for you to go with your Ice-chan. Serafal. Don't say that while blushing. So Tan. I already told you to call me Sona while she also blushed and turned her head to the other side while crossing her arms. Serafal. He no then getting up and going to her room and changing to go with her Ice-chan. While in the hallway of the mansion you can see a Sona walking still with her cheeks flushed while she had her arms crossed and played with her long hair. Yes friend Sona has her long hair well only here. Sona. Always one Isama telling me so Somu while pouting slightly idiot, you told me about him yesterday, even with a little you told me I would like to meet him at least once and see if he is really like you say and he can help us with that stupid system problem. So Sona could continue on her way and head to the living room, well with Serafal, she finished combing her hair and putting her 2 ribbons on each side and her beloved pigtails were left and quickly went to the kitchen and grabbed a basket and placed some bentos with food that the maids made and then quickly went to the entrance of the forest as agreed with Issei. Forest. At the entrance of the forest you can see an Issei calmly waiting for Serafal's arrival. Issei. I think she's late. I think I'll rest for a while to wait for her. Well he went to a tree and sat down and then leaned against it, then closed his eyes and fell asleep in no time. A few minutes later. You can see a Serafal arriving while having her hair disheveled and a few branches in it and with red knees meaning that she had fallen on the way. Serafal. Well letting out a heavy sigh. How come I didn't see that stupid rock? Because of it I fell and hurt my knees. Well at least the food didn't fall. Well putting on a small smile. Good. Now where will Issei-chan be while looking for him with her eyes until she saw a small boy who looked like a homeless man since he was wearing torn pants and a dirty shirt with some torn parts. And then he had a drop of sweat on the back of his neck. Edo Ice-chan. But our protagonist slept peacefully as if he didn't want to wake up ever again until he heard someone calling him where he began to slowly open his eyes and get used to the sunlight that hit him and see beautiful pink eyes even though they could be confused with purple and see a beautiful face that was close to his and hear small calls of his name with a Chan who accompanied them. And after a few seconds he could focus and see who those beautiful eyes belonged to. Issei. Hello Serafal while rubbing his eyes and yawning and then giving a small smile and seeing that Serafal returned it. You were late, right? Serafal. Hello and yes I was late haha while scratching the back of her neck and giving him a big smile. I'm sorry for being late, I just fell asleep. Issei. Don't worry, there's no problem, so I could take a moment to rest from my training. Serafal. Well, but I don't know whether to take it as a compliment or feel offended. Well she had a drop of sweat running down her neck. Issei. Haha, take it both ways, and we're off. As he turned around to go back into the forest. Serafal. Yes let's go, as she began to follow him and be by his side while they talk a little about what happened to him in the morning. A few minutes later, Issei's training place. Issei. Well, we're here. So, what do you want to do? Well he turned around to see her. Serafal. Yeah, how about we eat what I brought and talk a little and get to know each other while showing the basket she was carrying in her hands. Issei. Sounds good to me while taking the basket that Serafal was carrying, then opening it and taking out a tablecloth and placing it on the grass while sitting with Serafal and then taking out the bentos with food that she brought while Serafal opened them and arranged them so that he could grab whatever our protagonist wanted. So that later Issei would take out some bowls of rice and give one to Serafal and he would keep one to finally take out the chopsticks and give some to Serafal while they gave thanks for the food and began to eat. Serafal. Hey Issei while taking the brown-haired boy's attention, what's wrong Serafal? I know it's a delicate subject, but what were your parents' names? Issei. Oh well don't worry it's okay to ask about my parents, well my father was called ShinjiHimejima and my mother Asuka Hyoudou. Serafal. And why do you have the surname Hyoudou? I asked him with confusion. Issei. Hahaha, you do remind me of my old friend before he left when I mentioned my parents and well, the reason is that my father liked my mother's surname more and that's why he chose it to be the first and he also took the position of my mother's Hyoudou surname. Serafal. Great, but wait a moment, before you said that it reminded you of your friend, what do you mean by that? Issei. Ah, that well, before I had a friend, well, a friend since she dressed as a boy and thought that she could fool me like the other boys, but I wasn't that stupid and I began to analyze her name and her tone of voice since it sounded like a girl and well, her name is Irina and I had never heard a girl's name in a boy, so one day when we were playing I asked her if she really was a boy and she answered yes and I answered that I don't believe her and she asked me why and I answered that it was very easy since there is no boy with a very shrill and feminine voice and with a girl's name. And she answered that I discovered her and I asked her why she dressed like a boy and she told me that so that she would not have problems making friends and that they would not isolate her like the other girls since she liked to play like any boy like us. Then she asked me if I would continue to be her friend even knowing that she was a girl and I answered with a yes, it does not matter if she is a boy or a girl, I will continue to be her friend, and from that day she stopped dressing as a child and began to wear more feminine clothes and changed the way he treated me. He treated me more affectionately and he always walked holding my arm and he always said that I was his Ice-chan, making me blush on several occasions and I told him about my parents because he asked me and I told him the same thing I told you and he was surprised and well, I'm sorry for telling you my whole story with her and you reminded me of her for that reason, well he was blushing because I was his Ice-chan. Serafal. And what happened to her? Did something happen to her or what happened to her while eating and eager to know more, but also with a small tone of jealousy. Issei. Well, his father was sent to work in England, so that's why he had to leave, but he promised me that we would see each other again. Well, he continued eating and remembered when they said goodbye before he left to put on a smile. Well, how about we finish eating and then we continue talking? Serafal. Better, because if not, we won't finish eating and our food will get colder. While she continued eating. Later, an Issei can be seen putting the bentos in the basket and then placing it next to the tablecloth and sitting next to Serafal to realize that his knees were scraped. Issei. Well, since everything is saved we can continue talking, but first of all, what happened to you that made you hurt your knees? Serafal. While asking her in a worried tone. Serafal. My knees while touching them, well I fell while I was running since it was getting late to see you and well, I didn't want to make you wait any longer while looking down. Issei. Are you okay? Doesn't it hurt much? Can you walk? Well, he began to check his knee and Serafal blushed because our protagonist was touching her and because he had worried about her. Serafal. Yes, I'm fine, it doesn't hurt much either and yes, I can walk, so calm down a bit, I'm fine. While she looked at him and gave him a smile that made our protagonist calm down a little while she was blushing from the small embarrassment that she went through for a moment. Issei. I'm sorry, I just wanted to know if you weren't that hurt and I'm sorry for the questions, I just worried a lot while looking at the ground and blushing a little. Serafal. Well, I feel flattered that you cared about me apart from the servants and my parents, and so Tan, even though he doesn't show it, but I know he cares about me, well, giving him a big smile that made the brown-haired boy blush more. Issei. Well, my grandfather along with my father told me that I always had to worry about others before myself, and more so if it was a lady, I always have to be a gentleman and worry about them, because if not where would my honor be? Trash. Well, those words would be said by my grandfather, well he saw that Serafal blushed and looked the other way. Serafal. Well, then I have to say that your parents and your grandfather gave you a great education, although you also have to worry about yourself, because what if you are more hurt than the others? Issei. Well, you're right about that, but when that happens, I'll be strong, and I'll protect my loved ones that I have in the future, while looking at the sky and raising his hand with his fist closed with a determined look. Well, with Serafal seeing that movement and that look of determination in Issei made her blush a little and smile, since our protagonist made her remember the stories that her mother herself read to her, that the hero or prince always had a determined look along with a great will to never back down and always protect their loved ones, no matter what happens to them. Greg. I'm proud of your words, puppy. So was her rest and her moment with Serafal where they ate and talked about Issei's parents, her old friend, and what happened to Serafal until she met Issei's will. While our protagonist was seen walking towards the exit of the forest carrying the basket where the already empty bentos were, and next to him was the beloved Serafal with a big smile for having enjoyed Issei's company and knowing a little more about him. Serafal. Hey Issei, while continuing to walk and catch the attention of our protagonist. Issei. What's happening? Serafal while he followed Serafal's steps and turned to look at her. Serafal. Why don't you get new clothes since the ones you have are dirty and torn and you look like a vagabond in them? Issei. This is because I don't have money and you already know what happened to my home, so I don't know where I can get clothes, that's why I keep wearing these while pointing at his clothes. Serafal. Well, I think I can do something to get you some new clothes so you don't wear the ones you're wearing anymore. Issei. He no need Serafal with this, I'm fine, so calm down. Serafal. No, let me help you at least since you live in the forest and well as a sign of our new friendship while murmuring a few words at the end. Issei. This is thanks Serafal, and what was it that you muttered at the end that I couldn't hear? Serafal. Nothing important, he while blushing and getting a little nervous. Issei. Well, we reached the end of the forest, so I guess you'll come tomorrow too, right? Well, giving the basket to Serafal. Serafal. Exactly like that, see you tomorrow, Ice-kun, as she approached to give him a quick kiss on the cheek and then separated and left while waving goodbye and then turning around and continuing on her way. Issei. I think I have to get used to this, haha, while blushing slightly. Dreg. Not even that, mate. Issei. Did you see what happened a few moments ago? Well, the blushy had increased. Dreg. From when you met her until now. Issei. Gossipy dragon while crossing his arms and looking away. Dreg. Hey, that offends, boy, it's not my fault that you are attracted to her and she to you. Issei. I'm quite the gallant, wait, what did you say? Dreg. That she is attracted to you or you to her. Issei. First, you seriously say that she is attracted to me? Well, he was surprised and pointed at himself. Dreg. Of course I mean it, it's not for nothing that she would say goodbye to you with a kiss on the cheek or the little jealousy she showed when you mentioned your old friend. Issei. Wow, I didn't expect that one. Dreg. Well, changing the subject to what I came to tell you, and that's because I forgot. Issei. What were you going to tell me? Dreg. What I was going to tell you is that your little love interest is a demon and belongs to the Citri family house since she has that last name, and to be careful just in case, and well, when you see that it is an appropriate moment to tell her the truth that you are a bearer of sacred gear and that you know about the supernatural world and also that you know that she is a demon, it would be useful for us if she helped you a little with your magic, since they are taught from a young age to handle their magic for any enemy, since with my former bearers, I know that in reality the battle against the former mass did not end, only they died, but their great army did not, so the former army should not take long to attack them again. Maybe it will be in a few more years, but I am sure that they will attack again. Issei. You hadn't mentioned that to me before, but well, I'll see the right moment to tell him the truth to go back into the forest and be able to do a bit of his training routine. While with Serafal you could see her arrive home and pass through the kitchen and leave the basket for them to clean the bentos and wash the tablecloth. Then go to her room and see that a maid was standing next to her door and ask her to get clothes for a 6-year-old boy and see that the maid nodded and told her that she would have the clothes ready for tomorrow when she left again, and the maid left and she entered her room and did a few exercises to control her magic power, and after a while, she would go to bed to sleep and thus end the day. Okay, I'll speed things up a bit. During that week this Issei was doing his daily routine while with his free time he spent it with Serafal, in addition to having new clothes, well the ones that Serafal gave him, and well getting to know each other a little more. While in the following week he continued doing his routine, spending time with Serafal and starting to practice with a sword created with a drag scale called Intetsu that can damage even a god because it was created with a drag scale along with its power. In the following week he continued doing his routine and training more with Intetsu, but Drake told him that Intetsu had a great ability that was similar to his augmentations, but in this ability, he displays great strength that ignores his survival instinct, but since he was very small, he could only use it once a day, but Issei decided to learn it and the technique was called Itushura to be able to defeat the fallen angel or renegade demon with whom he had to fight so that he could call the being that would train him to be stronger in the future and see that his friendship with Serafal was improving, thus deciding that he would tell him the truth in the following week. This week one day he saw Serafal, he decided to tell her the truth that he was the bearer of a sacred gear, teaching her how to Intetsu, and also tell her that he knew about the supernatural world and that he knew that she was a demon at first. Serafal was surprised and saddened to think that Issei would stop being her friend, so she asked him if he would still be her friend, and this Issei answered yes, that he would never abandon her, earning a blush from the Serafal, and ask him if he could teach her how to use magic, and she gladly accepted, and asking him if he could teach her how to use a sword, and he accepted the same, so training together with Serafal and teaching her how to use a sword or katana like that. They were training for about 3 weeks, seeing that Issei had advanced a lot in his control with magic and seeing that he could create fire magic and the Serafal that she could fight with him on par, but she always ended up losing. Besides that, Issei was practicing with an Itushura. At the beginning of this week this Issei decided that it would be the day in which he would make his move, thus speaking with Serafal, saying that this would be their last day together, making the Serafal sad since she would not see her Ice-kun, but this Issei promising her that they would see each other in the future and also arming himself with courage, telling the Serafal that he liked her. Earning a big blush from Serafal, and she also admitting that she liked him, thus earning a big smile from our protagonist, also promising that in addition to seeing each other in the future, they would never separate since she is Sarah-chan and he is her Ice-kun, well, according to what if she has a harem, thus spending that last day together. We can see our protagonist preparing himself by putting on the clothes that he asked his dear Sarah-chan to make, which was more like an elegant suit, and then going to hunt a fallen angel or a demon, thus heading to a warehouse when he felt an evil magic hand entered it and saw that a large rock was heading towards him. Taking out Intetsu and splitting it in half, so that after that he saw that a fist was heading straight towards his face, and he dodged it and saw how it passed by, and saw that the renegade demon looked like a gorilla from the torso part, and saw that the lower part was like a snake, thus seeing that he would be fast moving, and that he would have great strength. Thus putting on a smile so he would face each other, thus beginning the fight. They quickly go to him to make a diagonal cut, while the demon dodged it and quickly direct a blow that received it fully, thus sending him to crash into a wall. But Issei quickly recovered and saw that he could not win like that to immediately take out the boosted gear and make an increase to see that another blow was directed at him, crouching thus dodging it and quickly standing up and making a cut in the abdomen of the demon and seeing that he gave a cry of pain while getting more angry to direct another blow like this, Issei dodging it and trying to make another cut, but he did not see that the snake tail was directed, giving him a blow that disoriented him, thus taking advantage of the demon to give him another blow that sent him back, while Issei quickly recovered and used the Itushura to then run towards the demon and see that he did the same, and thus the demon, preparing to give a blow, just when the blow was going to hit Issei, he slid thus dodging it, but while he was sliding our protagonist he buried the sword in the snake part, but with the speed he gained thanks to the Itushura and where the demon came from, it was easier for him to make a big but deep cut to the demon, thus bathing himself in the demon's blood and seeing that all the demon's organs were coming out, thus sending him a look of disgust and telling Drake to send the signal for the being to come, thus this Drake paying attention and seeing that a great pillar of light was sent to the sky that lasted for a few seconds and then disappeared, and after a few seconds seeing that a portal opened behind him and a hand was directed towards him that he didn't have time to dodge, thus immediately being grabbed and put in the portal, that after that closed and seeing that another portal opened where a white-haired man came out along with another and seeing that only the dead renegade demon was there and seeing if there wasn't something else in the warehouse, seeing that it was only the dead renegade demon, thus retreating. Great red. Negro. Just like her hair. Negro. Even darker than blue-black hair. Just like the darkness that clouds my vision. Beautiful black hair. Yes. Her hair. Is. What the hell am I talking about? Yes. Are these my last words? It's useless, damn it. My body doesn't. Curse. Why do I have to die in such a confusing way? It was truly a pathetic little existence. If I'm still alive I want. And my dear Sarah-chan, huh? That beautiful black hair. This will be Chan. If I wanted to die, I would at least like to die in the arms of my dear Sarah-chan. Doctor. Buddy, react Brad at once while saying the last thing with desperation and anger at the same time. Eyes. MGH what's wrong Drake while slowly opening his eyes as the light hit his face. Brah. Mate, for some strange reason someone brought us to the dimensional gap and it's a miracle that you're still alive. Eyes. Skewer what? While getting used to the light and realizing that the sky had several shades of colors that gave it a great appearance. Whoa, but how great it looks while getting up to have a better view. Doctor. Hahaha, well it's your first time coming here so there's no problem. Ice. Have you been here before Drake? As he began to walk to see if he could find something else. Brah. Of course, my friend. I came here once when I was fighting with the white man, but we couldn't hold out for too long, so we didn't leave because of the pressure we felt. Well, at that time, we were very young. But first of all, my friend, where do you stand? Ice. Well, looking at the ground and seeing what was something scaly, red with some darker parts, I have no idea. Drake just woke up and was in this place. Doctor. I see, well why don't you try to investigate a little more and see if there isn't someone else in this place. Ice. Good idea. As he began to walk and see what he found until he reached a point where he saw a large wing of a dragon that occasionally flapped. What the hell, buddy, are you seeing the same thing as me? Brah. You mean the big dragon wing or the head that just gave us a look? Wow Jiroho, who would have thought that you would be interested in one of my bearers? It must be because you're bored or because you saw potential in the boy, hahaha. From now on, and in the training of this boy, it will be very interesting. Ice. Wait, what did you say? Well, he started to search for the head that Drake mentioned. Doctor. What you heard, well why don't you try to call him? Ice. Well I'll try. Excuse me big dragon, could you tell me what I'm doing here, in this place? Oh, I see you woke up, well, and answering your question why you are here is because I brought you since I felt the power of a dragon, more specific to the Red Emperor, since the signal he transmitted was to attract other beings, but more to the dragons, but the power he transmitted was like when he was alive, and I thought he had fused with a wearer, or they managed to get him out of the boosted. Here, so I wanted to see it with my own eyes, but I found you tired because of an ability you used, but I felt that you would have great potential in the future, so I made the decision to bring you here and train you separately, also at someone else's request. Ice. And why did you want to see if he was alive or from the fusion of the carrier and drag? While looking at him with doubt. Jiroho. Well, it's because I didn't want them to live to close him in the sacred gear, after all you know the story for sure, but the most important thing is that I met him one day when I was wandering through the sky of the underworld in the farthest from the current cities, then I saw him there training to defeat the white. Then he saw me and wanted to fight me, but I refused, but he again told me to fight him, and I was refusing until he decided to leave. There I opened a gap to go to the dimensional gap, just when I was thinking of crossing it, he tried to attack me with a fireball that hit me full on, and that was where I got tired and turned around to face him, but I saw that he was smiling for achieving his goal, but I didn't know who he was dealing with since he was barely in his teens, so I sent him a big fireball. I thought he would dodge it, but he wanted to try to counter it, so he also sent his fireball, and well, he ended up winning mine that hit him full on, and well, he looked like a lizard on coal. What surprised me is that he could endure it even being in adolescence, other dragons would be dying or half dead. But he was not like that. I decided to heal him a little and leave from there. When I was wandering in the dimensional gap I heard them calling me, so I turned to my side and saw him there flying next to me, wondering who I was. Then I told him that they know me as the dragon god of dreams or Great Red, and it was from there that we later spent time together, or I trained him from time to time, but I tell you this, Drag was more powerful than the white, but he wanted to see if the white could surpass him or equal him, but since he saw that he was below him, he fought it as equal, so that he would not get bored of always winning, but we strayed from the subject. I wanted to see him to continue spending time together like in the old times. Ice. Well, I'm surprised that Drag met you in your teens, but that you had a friendship and that you wanted to spend time with him again, or that you would train him from time to time, and that you were stronger than the white man. All of that surprises me. Jiroho. True, the times we had were good, and it's also that all male dragons in their adolescence want to fight with everything that moves, well except for females. Ice. Well, changing the subject, I'm surprised that you, the dragon god of dreams, want to train me, a bearer of a sacred gear. I don't know how I should feel, whether excited or honored, and it will be a pleasure for you to be my teacher. Jiroho. Well, I think you should feel a little bit of both, and well, as I told you before, I saw potential in you, boy. I know that in the future, you will be the strongest carrier, so I expect great things from you, boy. I want you to show the other races the power that we dragons have. Ice. Well, when would we start training and how would it be? Jiroho. Well, how the training would be structured would be like this: we would start from scratch with the physical and the resistance, and well, in addition to some magic seals that will serve as weights, well as gravity to make the training harder, which would be to escape from me and my fireballs. In addition to that, when it is getting dark you will do your push-ups of arms and legs, in addition to that you will do sit-ups, so that you are really solid and start again with the escape at dawn. That would be for 5 years in your time, but we will be in a pocket dimension where time advances faster. Let's say that a year in your time in hours would be 5 years in the dimension. Meaning that the 5 years in your time would be 25 in the dimension, so it would be 25 years of pure physical and resistance, so I hope you do a great job. In the 5 years left we will divide them into 3, that would be 2 years or rather 10 years of knowledge, where you will be in a bookstore reading about your world and the supernatural world that you will read up to bachelor's level or more if there is one, and also about the other subjects that they would see in elementary, secondary, high school and university, so that you are not an empty head in school, and from the supernatural world about politics and magic that exists, as well as the sacred gear that exists, since you must have great magical power and an arsenal of spells that you will put into practice during a year. That would be 5 in the dimension, and in the last 2 years or rather 10 years, I will teach you about the use of bladed weapons like perhaps firearms, and half of those 10 years your last job will be that we fight during those 5 years that remain without the seals, so that you have experience in battle. While Issei was breathless at what he would do in 10 years, well 50 years, and he thought that he would grow older during those years that he was in there, and that his body would not be able to withstand the training since he is a human, and he is a dragon. Ice. By the way, how do I plan to endure all that training if I'm human? Jiroho. Calm down, boy. I'll make you a body with my flesh and with my power, and also the one who asked me to bring you here will help me, so calm down, boy, since in the morning you will have your new body and with my power as well as someone else, and we would also start training tomorrow when you have your body, so rest for now and you won't age. You will only be 16 years old when you leave training, but I assure you that you will have a great radical change. Ice. Well, I think that reassures me a little, but who is that person who asked you that and who will help you create my new body? Jiroho. You will meet him later, you will have a year of rest, since you will have a power like mine or maybe more, so you will have to control it in addition to other things, and in that time you will meet her, so calm down boy and wait for that moment to arrive. Ice. I didn't expect that one, but I'll wait for that moment to arrive. By the way, Jiroho, can you do me a favor? Jiroho. What's it about, boy? Ice. Well, let's say I have a demon friend and well she's from the anti-mass faction, and well, I think you know that her battle isn't over yet, well only the mass died in the faction war or Santa if I'm not mistaken, so I would like you to let me know which command won the battle, if it's not too much to ask. Jiroho. Oh yeah sure a friend, well calm down boy, I'll let you know which faction won, so I don't want you to get distracted from your training because of that, but what's the girl's name? Ice. Well, turning red at what Jiroho said, if she's just my friend and her name is Serafal and I won't get distracted, so thanks for doing me that favor. Well, he leaned on Jiroho's head and looked at the great sky of the gap and thought about which faction would win and that nothing would happen to his dear Sera-chan. So Jiroho and Issei continued wandering in the dimensional gap, with Issei sleeping peacefully and Jiroho enjoying his tranquility and making a communication seal to tell the one who will help him in Issei's body, where he gladly accepted, and thus preparing Issei's body with his flesh and putting part of his power in addition to his helper, who was helping him with the transfer of Issei's soul, who was asleep without realizing what was happening around him, and also putting part of his power to make him stronger, thus achieving the transfer of the soul to the new body, and thus so that they would finish quickly and he would withdraw. You can see in Issei slowly waking up and adjusting to the sunlight hitting his face and eyes, opening them and getting used to it, and seeing that he is in a field with mountainous areas, in addition to giving him discomfort, as well as feeling a little heavier, and seeing that he could not get up from the ground where he was, and that he did not feel the power of Roho, since it was very difficult for him to feel a magical power before, and now he felt it very fast, and that he could not summon the boosted gear, in addition to his Intetsu sword, and try to get up slowly, as if he were just a small child learning to walk, and see that on his forearms, he had 2 dragon tattoos, and start walking through the meadow, and wondering how he got here, as well as where Roho went until what placed the heat from his back, where he turned around and saw that a fireball was approaching and threw himself to the ground to dodge it, where the ball passed long and hit the tree, destroying it and burning it at the same time, and seeing that it was approaching a dragon, recognizing that it was Red, but in a smaller size like Tannen, and staying in front of him looking at him. Roho, okay boy, today starts your training, and well, first of all, right now you are already 100% dragon, and don't worry, you still have drag, that's why you feel weird, and well, the tattoos you have on your forearms are gravity seals that will serve as weights, where every time you feel light and you can walk and run without problems, the gravity will increase, making you heavier and start again, so I wish you luck. So let's start to immediately throw a fireball at him that hit him full on, sending him flying, where he ended up crashing into a tree and trying to get up quickly to start escaping from Jiroho, thus starting with his training that will make him someone strong and powerful in the future. Well, I'm going to do a time jump so things go faster. Well, you already know what the training consists of, so let's continue with the story. 5 years, or rather 25 years. During these 25 years that he was inside with Jiroho and escaping from his fireballs, and instead of looking like training, it seemed like a chase, where it seemed that Jiroho wanted to turn our protagonist into a roast meat for his hunger and invite other dragons to drink apple distillate and eat the roast meat that Jiroho prepared with his beloved flames, but let's not stray from the topic. Well, during his pursuit of Jiroho and doing his arm and leg push-ups, in addition to strengthening his abdomen and having his gravity seals, he was getting a semi-marked physique, where a 6 was marked that would wet even an iceberg, along with arms that looked like tumors, but marked, with legs that were also marked like those of the bug, or better known as CR7. But Issei's torture was the gravity seals, since every time he got used to it the weight increased, thus torturing him physically, where sometimes he ended up receiving several fireballs from Jiroho, but thanks to that he also won some good reflexes that looked like Goku with Ultra Instinct, but better. In addition to his enormous strength that with just one hit would send you back to kindergarten, or if you want, to be reborn. 2 years or another 10 years. During these 10 years this Issei was thrown into a library with information on everything that humans should know about their technical careers or degrees, thus gaining great knowledge, easily ridiculing a teacher who studied for several years to be the best, as well as explaining easier than them and making the students understand with a single explanation. But the information of the supernatural he learned about the Christian pantheon, in addition to the origin of the dragons, and the categories that were in each faction or pantheon, in addition to learning about magic and various spells that existed, but the one that caught the most attention would be Asgardian magic like light like angels and darkness, that only dark elves could learn in addition to the Dragon Slayer, which is the only weapon or magic to kill a dragon, in addition to the blood of Samuel, in addition to learning about politics that was divided into the supernatural when he wanted to face those of the faction's council. He gained great intelligence, thus being able to create various strategies when he had an entourage or when led an army without being defeated, in addition to learning about manners so that he would not be made to look ridiculous in any situation, to finish learning about the sacred gear and how they were classified, to close his 10 years of training on knowledge, in addition to knowing the secrets that the supernatural world hid with the death of God or that of the Mau. 1 year, that would be 5 years. During these 5 years this Issei left the library after finishing his training and returned to the field so that Jiroho could put him to practice the magic and spells he learned, in addition to gaining great magical power so that he would not run out of magic at any time or battle he has. Although the magic that was most complicated for him was the Dragon Slayer magic, since when he tried to create a sphere of that power he got hurt since he had become a complete dragon, and well, you already know why. Well, with the other magic it was not so complicated for him like this, asking to combine physical attacks with magic or creating weapons that help him in his battle, in addition to combining magic, creating a more powerful and destructive one at the same time, and finding a way to use the Dragon Slayer without getting hurt using dark or light magic, making the dark absorb the damage or the light, dealing the damage that was done, thus being able to enhance the Dragon Slayer magic with the two combinations and use it at will. In addition to that, one unexpected day, Roho arrived telling him that the second and final round of the war between the demon factions had already occurred and that the anti-Mau faction had won, making Issei happy and at the same time worried about his dear Sarah-chan and a little about his sister, since without her this Seraphil would not be the same. Worse, trusting her, knowing that she was not someone easy to defeat since she also taught her how to use a katana or sword, thus making her stronger, and trusting that she would be fine, thus returning to her training. Last 2 years or last 10 years of training. For 5 years he learned all kinds of bladed weapons other than fire weapons without knowing where the hell he got the fire weapons from, well, thus reaching master or legendary level. Well, the highest level of any kind of bladed weapon. Literally, if you gave him a branch, with that branch he could fight you well or make a cut. That was for a year due to his mental development that he had acquired in his training, thus being able to learn things faster until he could copy a fighting style, in addition to learning to use the 2 katanas that he got as a child in that cave where it all started, thus learning the skills of Intetsu, which meant iron sword, and the other was known as Ryuizum, which means dragon claw, in addition to learning fighting styles with any weapon or using 2 the same or different or more weapons, making him unstoppable, and all is learning it for 2 years because he had to perfect his styles and techniques. Then for a year he learned about any use of firearms, thus being able to also create his weapons with his own magic, turning them into magical weapons that could cause much more damage than the bullets they use, thus being able to kill a platoon with just 1 pistol and having a magnificent aim since he didn't miss a shot. And during the 2 years that remained to him before starting with the other half that he had left and start his fight with Jiroho, he dedicated himself to training with the boosted gear, thus managing to activate the balance breaker for the first time, thus causing a great explosion due to the great power that he gave off, since he had achieved immense power during his training that would be on par with Great Red or surpass it, because he still did not use the power of Great Red or that of the one who also created his body with Great Red, thus putting magic and gravity restriction seals on himself so that he could start training with the power of Drag starting from scratch. After a year he had perfect use of Drag's armor in addition to his power, thus managing to increase Drag's power more than when he was alive and kicking and becoming his thing. So with the other year he had left before his battle he began to train with the power of Great Red as he did with the Drag power, making it unlimited so he could use it as he pleased, finishing training it in half a year and being able to create illusions or dreams like pocket dimensions to use as a prisoner storage or also as a training area, in addition to creating powerful attacks or battle weapons that only he can use or those he gives permission to use it or his own clothes in case it occurs. The other half year he began to use the power of NC that he could create snakes that served to give power as a drag as well as destroy it or to use them as familiars for infiltration that would help him in the future as well, making it his own in addition to using it at his whim without restriction and infinite. In addition to achieving the evolution of Intetsu, thus changing the appearance of the sword, as well as achieving a balance breaker with the sword, being able to turn it into a spear, as well as achieving armor that accompanies him in his battles. New look of Intetsu. Intetsu balance breaker armor. The spear in the image is the appearance of Intetsu when it becomes a Naginata Japanese weapon or a spear. While with the sword he had obtained that served as a dragon slayer sword, he was able to fuse it with Intetsu, thus making it stronger and causing great damage to what Intetsu already caused. In order to finish all those years of hard training and suffering, since that training could only be done by those who have great will, and those who want to become a god or at least reach it, so that this last year that he had left in the dimension would have his last test, which would be to fight with his master Jiroho. You can see on the top of a mountain a boy, I say boy, a teenager without baby fat, only a clean face that would be able to make any woman in the natural and supernatural world fall in love with him, with long hair that reached his waist, but he had it tied up like a ponytail. Only dressed in pants that were tied on him, but the pants looked too worn out and also torn in some parts, showing his marked abdomen, as well as his arms looking at the landscape that the height gave him with a serious and relaxed expression, and then a fluttering would be heard, and then he would land, and a slight tremor would arise. Jiroho. I'm surprised and proud that you finished your training boy and that you converted my power as if it were yours, but without losing the characteristics that it gives you, as well as that of Dragon Office, in addition to your great intellect that you obtained, but now comes the good part. We will have a battle so that you gain experience in battle, so I hope you give your best effort and do not hold back, since I will go with everything. Issei. Well, I finally know the name of the one who gave me the power. She asked you to bring me before you, and she helped you with my body, and well, it must surely be a girl, but well, we have a pending battle, then I will meet her, so let's start while he removed the gravity seals as a power restriction. In order to feel lighter, and a small trail of power began to emerge that could be seen for a few minutes and then disappeared. Jiroho. Well said boy, but let's start right away. Thus beginning the last year of training as well as a battle that would begin at the first movement that any of them made as they stared at each other and analyzed one another until a strong gust of wind arose where Issei took advantage and quickly disappeared due to the great speed he had in order to deliver an upward blow to Jiroho's chin, who resisted it but grimaced in pain, so that Issei gave a half smile at the result of his blow. Then this Jiroho quickly launched a fireball towards Issei, who dodged it, and this Issei took advantage of that and tried to give him another blow to the abdomen, but Jiroho covered himself with his forearm and gave a direct blow to Issei that hit him full on, sending him flying to quickly recompose himself in the air and take out 2 pairs of black and red dragon wings, giving him a large tone the same size as Jiroho in his reduced size, to quickly go to where Jiroho was and prepare another blow, but in the head, and Jiroho prepares to counterattack, but what he did not expect was that Issei using his speed and disappearing from Jiroho's side and appearing behind him and kicking him in the back that made him go slightly forward. Issei. What's wrong, old man, right? You were going all out and look, I'm fighting you like this without my armor. Jiroho. Well boy, I told you from the beginning that I would go with everything, but I wanted you to go with everything, not just me, so I won't fight until you use all your power. Issei. Ah well, I'll go with everything, old man. Well, the boosted gear appeared in his left hand and then balance breaker could be heard and an explosion of power arose and Issei could be seen using the famous celestial dragon armor. Okay, I'm ready, shall we start? Jiroho. I said everything while he crossed his arm. Issei. Okay, so that more power would begin to be felt and an explosion would arise that blinded Jiroho for a moment, and then Issei could be seen with a different version of the drag armor better. Jiroho. Well, are you stupid or what, son? I said with everything. Issei. Well, now I understand. While he began to release the power of Drag, Office, Jiroho and his own, and you could see a large trail of red and black power, in addition to a great increase in power that could be said to surpass Jiroho or rivaled him, and then an explosion arose that blinded Jiroho for a moment, and then you could see an Issei with a totally different armor. It was a metallic black color along with a red cape. Well, I'll leave you a better image. The sword that is there in the image is its third form that it is when used with Drag's balance breaker, along with all the powers that Issei has. Issei. Now we can start or not yet? Well, placing the sword on his shoulder. Jiroho. Haha, much better, and now we can start. While he got into battle pose. Issei. I was finally getting bored while preparing with his sword to attack or counterattack any attack. So that after a few seconds the two disappeared and small air waves began to emerge, and then more waves began to emerge until there was a bigger wave that made a hole where they were standing, and you can see the two of them as if nothing had happened, and then they disappeared again and continued fighting, and one or another explosion arose to continue the fight that would last for a year. While in the distance you can see a brunette in gothic clothing, but what stood out the most was her height that looked like a loli, and she only had 2 ribbon studs covering her nipples. I expect great things from you, my dear Issei, while putting on a small smile, then turning around and opening a dimensional gap and entering it. Office Ouroboros. Chaos and destruction, I think those words would be what would define the place, and what was once a beautiful field was destroyed by 2 beings and turned into a place without life and fauna that seemed more like a war zone. Well, the ones responsible for the destruction of that field are only two beings, one with human form, and the other was a large dragon staring fixedly, but not with a threatening look. The great dragon was seen with several wounds all over its body and a few small scars on it. The interesting thing about it was that it was smiling as it stared at its opponent, not with a threatening look, but with a look of amusement. The name of that dragon was known as Great Red, also known as the Dragon of the Apocalypse, the true god Red Dragon Emperor. The true dragon and the dragon of dragons DXD. And the other one, well, was a human being. Well, he looked like a human since it would not be known since he was fighting a dragon and not any human being would fight one. At least that is not human would fight with one, but well the appearance of this one was almost the same as the dragon, since he had a few scars and one or another scar on the torso, but the ones that stood out a little were one that he had by the ribs on the right side and on the back that was diagonal, and one that was on the left chest or pectoral also diagonal, but had the shape of a claw and he only wore torn pants that looked like shorts, and he had his torso uncovered showing his great body that was marked the same as CR7 or even more, but what stood out the most was a half smile that he had in addition to his look that was relaxed, that seemed to be having fun in this fight that he has with Great Red. Iroho. You surprise me boy, you have managed to endure this whole year fighting against me and best of all, hurt me haha, and I had fun with this fight, but all good things have an end, and this end is now in addition to the fact that we are running out of time in this dimension that I created so get ready boy, because it is only going to be one attack that will define a winner while he began to concentrate magical power in his red mouth, but a light red like a crimson red dot. Issei. Haha I feel flattered old man and I also had fun in this fight. I would like us to continue fighting, but it's a shame that we ran out of time, but let's put the talk aside and finish this once and for all, while he began to concentrate his magical power in his left hand and the boosted gear appears. And a small sphere is formed that increases in size until Issei compresses the power and has the size of a soccer ball, but red with black touches. So that later Issei would take a look at Great Red and see that he was doing the same with his power to concentrate it in order to add more to it and make the attack more devastating. Immediately after this Issei would raise his right hand and begin to add Great Red's power to it and the ball of power would turn scarlet red with black touches. And then compress it again and see that a great pressure was felt due to the power and then begin to add the power of office and it would turn a dark scarlet red that looked like a dark purple, but with red like a wine color, but stronger so that you can get an idea of what it is like, but instead of seeing the black touches in the sphere of power. Small black rays were seen inside the sphere to finally give it a few increases and the sphere would grow so that later it would compress it again and a greater pressure of power would be felt and small gusts of air would be seen around Issei and on the ground where he was standing it would begin to crack. They continued charging their powers so that they would be devastating and a winner would be decided or rather to know if Issei had the power of a dragon god or more to become one and be the fourth dragon god of the supernatural world. Until they reached a point where neither of them could increase their attack any further, so that was all the energy they had left, and then they quickly changed their gazes and became hostile. It seemed like they were cursing each other with their looks, okay, not the cursing, but the change in their gazes yes, so let's continue. Issei. Okay Red this is all the energy I have left, and I think that's all your energy left, so I hope you're ready so get ready. While Issei launched his attack and this red one did the same thing they went at high speeds and got closer and closer until they collided and well. The spheres remained still as if time had frozen, then when they saw that big red and Issei, they let their guard down and were confused, then they decided to get closer to see what happened, then they arrived, and well Issei grabbed a branch that was lying around and did the following imagine the following in slow motion, he was bringing the branch closer until he stopped when he was about to touch. He stopped as if thinking. Jiroho. Hey, why did you stop? Well he was standing behind our protagonist with his arms crossed. Issei. Because I'm not sure about doing it. Red. Then give it to me, I'll do it while receiving the branch from Issei so that he could stand behind big red dot. Issei. Well now do it while waiting for this red to do it dot. Jiroho. Okay here we go imagine the slow motion again he kept bringing the branch closer and closer to the sphere until he touched it. Issei. Well in the end nothing happened while Issei took out his pairs of dragon wings dot. Jiroho. Hey where do you think you're going brat? While looking at him confused dot. Issei. To a place far from here because that shit is going to explode to quickly take flight and see how he was lost from the gaze of Great Red. Jiroho. Son of a hitch, buck your mother every time you breathe hi to Issei. Then a great glow began to come from the spheres and then an explosion occurred that looked like a nuclear bomb had fallen on that place. While with our protagonist you can see that he continued flying calmly since he thought he had escaped until the large gusts of air that the explosion was expelling reached him and gave him such a great boost that he lost control of his flight and began to spin in the air until he crashed into a tree that even went through it. Well, after it has passed we can see our protagonist again walking calmly, but he had branches like leaves all over his hair, and you can see him getting closer to where the explosion came from, so you can see a smoked lizard skewer, where there is a big red one lying on the ground, well you can see that it is still giving off smoke. Issei. What do you mean you're hungry now, right, Red? While looking at him on the ground. Jiroho. Hahaha, very funny brat, but well we have to get out of here. Well, he stood up and created a dimensional crack. Issei. Well, it was fun while it lasted. While he looked at the place and saw how everything was destroyed, so that memories of when he entered this dimension and escaped from Red came to him, then when he grew up and did his exercises and increased the weight of his seals, and where he began to have more power and begin to seal it. To almost at the end when he started fighting with Red and the explosions or destruction they did until reaching his last attack, all that was remembered with a half smile, and then turned around and saw that Red finished making the dimensional crack. Jiroho. Okay, it's ready boy, let's get out of this damn place. Well, he started walking with Issei. Issei. Well, first of all, who won this fight, old man, as they entered the portal. Jiroho. Your boy, you won it, I congratulate you, now you are God. So that the dimensional rift would close with those two and that last phrase. Well, you could see how the dimension where they trained began to be destroyed and disappear, leaving only the dimensional gap again, and leaving only that place in the memory of Great Red and Hyoudou Issei, where a new dragon god also emerged from that place, that would have great adventures as well as good battles. Well, I will try to have good battles as adventures and would protect his loved ones, even if he had to give his life. While in the dimensional gap you can see an Issei surprised by the response he received from Great Red. Issei. Wait, what was it you just said a moment ago? Well, he was lying on Big Red's head because when they entered the gap he returned to his normal size. Jiroho. Now you are God and I am surprised that you have more power than me, although the truth is I don't know if you fought with everything you had or not. Issei. Of course I fought with everything I had while still not believing that I was now God. Jiroho. Well then release all your power together, as if you were increasing all your power with the others up to your limit. Issei. Well, I'll do it so you can see that if I fought with everything while he stood up to start all his power, and if I felt a great increase in power, you see I told you I fought with everything. Jiroho. Just wait a few more seconds while continuing to fly. Issei. Okay. So that later, as this Great Red said, a dome arose that covered our protagonist, so that before he said a word the dome was dyed the color of all his power that came together in the dimension of a dark crimson red color with black rays. Jiroho. Hahaha, that boy knew that really surprises me. So that after a few minutes the dome exploded and now you can see a black-haired boy at first glance, you can say he is around 20 or 19 years old, along with a height of 1.80, in addition to having a deep look that any girl who saw her would get lost in her. Also his face did not show that he had a trace of fat, it was a clean face, that even if he ate a lot of chocolate, he would not get a pimple on it, as he also had white skin that accompanied him with purple eyes. Jiroho. Well, how do you feel now? Issei. Much lighter and more powerful. Do you know why my appearance changed? Well, a full body mirror appeared in front of him and he gave a smile at his new appearance while wearing elegant black shoes and dress pants, along with a purple tucked shirt to be accompanied by a vest and for the final touch a red tie. Jiroho. Well, your appearance changed because you released your power in parts. What I mean is that you released one first, so when you released everything you continued with the other, and so on with the powers you have, but if you released them all together, your body would adapt to it since you have great resistance, but so that you wouldn't have problems with it when using it all together it had to adapt more, thus changing your appearance, but hey, you look better like this, worthy of a god. Issei. Well, it's something that couldn't be avoided. Well, I still have to spend a year in the dimensional gap for my power to fully adapt, right? Jiroho. Yes, because if you get out of here you can destroy an entire city with just your aura. Issei. Well, there is no other choice. Changing the subject, can you explain to me why I am now a god? Well, a reclining chair appeared and he sat in it and pulled a small lever that was on the chair so that it would go down and he would lie down on it. Jiroho. Well, it's easy, you had a hard training with me that improved your physical and psychological abilities as power, thus managing to reach a great level since you fought with me, and you had no problems doing so, thus implying that I am a god, and you had a fight with me without much difficulty, in addition to winning, well, you ended up becoming a good god. You reached the level of 1, so for those reasons now you are a god. Issei. Ah, what a shit I'm in now, but now it's going to be more interesting while looking at the deep sky of the gap to complete my revenge with that damn crow. So that after a few seconds he fell deeply asleep, while Red noticed that and continued flying calmly until he noticed something. Jiroho. Well, until when are you going to continue hiding, office? Well, the aforementioned appeared on Red's head sitting down. Office. Hello read while raising a hand in greeting while having a small smile, although his gaze showed no interest. Jiroho. Well, I'm surprised that you're here without wanting to fight for the gap, which is what brings you here. Office. Well, I found the boy you trained interesting, and I also have to meet the new dragon god while approaching where Issei was sleeping. Jiroho. You're right, but I know you, so you must be interested in it to see it in person and up close. Office. You're right, and that's why I'm going to talk to him about it when he wakes up while she was on top of him and leaned on his chest to fall asleep. Jiroho. You must be someone really interesting, boy, not for nothing would the Infinity Dragon have you in her sights, while he continued flying calmly in the dimensional gap. While elsewhere inside a large room there was a desk with several mountains of sheets, and around the desk there were more mountains, but behind that desk there was a large window with curtains as decoration. But what stood out was a silhouette of a girl who was dressed in a long black skirt that did not show much, only her perfect waist that she had in addition to her perfect shaped butt, but that was hidden with the skirt, in addition to wearing a strong green blouse that made her breasts stand out, that had a good size along with a bow. She stood with her arms crossed under her breasts, thus highlighting them more, while she looked out the window with a dreamy look, but with a small sad smile. When will I see you again, Ice-chan, while turning to look at a photo that was on the desk where you can see a brown-haired boy being hugged by a black-haired girl with two pigtails on the sides. Brecha dimensional. Our protagonist was resting peacefully in his chair until he showed signs of waking up and slowly opened his eyes because he felt a weight on top of him until he could see better and found himself with a small brunette in a black gothic dress with purple and white details, but what stood out about the dress was that it had two X-shaped ribbons on its nipples. So that she will start to move it slowly so that it will later show signs of waking up. Office. While rubbing her right eye and stretching. Issei. It's not that it's a bother that you slept on top of me, but who are you? Office. I am Office Ouroboros, and I am the dragon goddess of infinity while having a monotonous face. Issei. Oh, so you are Office who helped Big Red by creating a new body for me. As he got up from the chair he instantly disappeared, and I have to say that it is a pleasure to meet you, my lady. While Issei bowed and this Office made a face of confusion or well just moved her head to the side not knowing what Issei was doing. Office. What did you just do? While looking at him with interest. Jiroho. Oh, it's true, boy, she doesn't know how to relate and she doesn't know about feelings, she's been around for many years and has never had a deep relationship with someone. Issei. Is all that true, Office? While turning to look at her. Office. Yes, but what I came here for was you while having a monotonous. Issei. May I know why? While he had a serious look, that Office seeing that look had a small blush. Office. Because I belong to you and you belong to me, since you have my power within you and you have caught my attention and I would like to learn about feelings. Issei. I can't get rid of this truth. While he let out a heavy sigh and had a hand behind his neck. Office. No, while giving him a small smile with her monotonous face. Jiroho. Hahaha, good luck, boy, because during this year that you have left within the gap she enters her mating season and you will have it difficult. While Issei made two chairs and a small dining area appear so they could chat comfortably. A small jump in time. During the first month they were inside, they were talking about what feelings were and how they could manifest themselves, even though Office had a face that didn't understand a shit or well that of a small child learning new things. In the second one it was a little more favorable since Office could already differentiate a few feelings, although every time she felt strange, she asked Issei what she had and Issei, knowing that she couldn't get sick or maybe she could told her what the feeling was. In the third month, well, let's say that they got to know each other a little better and Office now asked fewer questions about her feelings and that gave a little relief to our black-haired boy who was previously brown-haired. In the fourth month they talk about meaningless things and even though Office already knew how to differentiate feelings, what was missing was for her to express them since she still had her monotonous face when she spoke, even though it was a little uncomfortable for Issei. He knows that now she is his responsibility and he would have to do the impossible no matter what it cost. Issei would find a way to achieve it. In the fifth month, Issei was able to get Office to express her feelings at the end of the month as he showed her how she could express them every time she feels an emotion or feeling. The point is that it is one of those two. In the sixth month Office could already express her emotions every time she spoke, even if she had a serious tone, but Issei knew that up to that point was all the work he could do, so by telling Office that something unexpected happened and that was that Office gave him a hug and deeply thanked him for helping her with her feelings, while Issei gave her an answer that captivated her and that was that he would always help her with whatever problems she has, thus earning a small blush from Office, who buried her head in Issei's chest and tightened her grip in the hug while Issei looked at Issei and put on a smile at what he did. And the 7th, no way, this already seems like a math class month. The relationship between Issei and Office took on depth, where Issei told him about what happened in the human world, from when he fell into the cave and met Drag until the death of his parents, where he escaped to the forest to be safe until his fight with a renegade demon, even though for some reason if he told him about Seraphol. Something told him that something bad would happen if he did. In the 8th month, let's say they were talking calmly at the beginning of it until at one point Office lowered her head and breathed heavily. This confused Issei, where he decided to stand up from his place and be next to her and touch her shoulder, so that suddenly the boosted gear appeared and Red stopped his flight. Where a loud scream could be heard from Red and Drag saying the following in unison: "Run Hitch, run," so that after that this Office turned to look at Issei, and he could notice that he had a perverted look and smile along with agitated breathing with a big blush that caused him a chill, so that later a second scream could be heard: "Run damn it," and paying attention so that he would open his wings and take flight quickly and get out of there. While with Office, she hit Red on the head and told him not to get in her way and also that Issei should take flight and then go back the way he went. Jiroho. I hope you survive, boy, because it's not going to be easy for you. Well, a gap opened in front of him, but let's go to hell, dude, and he entered through the portal. While with Issei, he was still flying to escape from Office. Issei. Hey Drag, it's not what I think for him to be like this. Office, right? Drag. You mean that, right? Issei. Yes to that. While he was getting nervous about the answer that Drag would give him, and he just stayed quiet without giving him an answer, thus making it clear to Issei that he was right. I'm screwed. Drag. Yeah, and a lot, mate, just hold on and try to survive for a month in here with her, because Red is out of here. Issei. Son of a, or he could finish the sentence since someone arrived and tackled him. Drag. No way, the crazy girl arrived so that after that the connection she had with Issei would end. Issei. He ho hi Office, while Office was on top of him grabbing him so he couldn't escape, and she slowly approached his face so she could kiss him. Shit, she's releasing a lot of pheromones. If she kisses me, I don't think I can resist, so I need to escape from this and fast. And immediately after this Issei turned on his side so he was on top of Office and grabbed both of her hands while her blush grew more. Issei. Well, he quickly approached Office's neck and breathed in her scent that she was giving off and approached her ear to tell her in a deep voice, you smell so good that you excite me and I would make you mine right now, but it's not the time yet." Well, he bit her earlobe. That Office, feeling and hearing that, instinctively bit her lower lip and rubbed her legs unconsciously. So that Issei would quickly separate and leave from there. And so began a hunt by Office for Issei's chastity, where Office almost achieved her goal, but Issei always managed to escape, and so it was while with Red, well, he found himself flying without any worries. Until the month ended, and when that happened she fell asleep for no reason into the void of the gap, but before that happened, Issei arrived where he carried her bridal style, and she instinctively clung to his chest, and after a few seconds she turned red and saw the scene she was in, and told Issei that now he can rest peacefully. Well, he made a bed appear with his power where the two of them could sleep, since he saw that Office would not leave him alone, lying down with her and then falling asleep while hugging her. Haha, I know the bed thing is weird, but there's no way they're going to sleep on top of Red. In the 9th month, it was calm since only Issei and Office spent their time chatting, and from time to time they would fly alone through the gap since Issei still couldn't get out, and one day Office asked Issei something. Office. Hey Issei, while attracting Issei's attention, what do you think of me? Issei. Well, at first when I met you, you were someone strange, no offense, but I had never dealt with a girl like that, but with what you asked me, and that now you were mine, I was surprised since I never expected that, but I had to take responsibility and well, I helped you with your emotions, and I got to know you more. The only thing I can say is that you really are someone really beautiful. Naive in some things, that no matter what has to happen, if I have to protect you, I would protect you with my life, so that you are safe. After finishing saying that, Office had a noticeable blush along with a cute smile that captivated Issei. Office. Thank you for thinking that of me, now I can say that I really love you. Those words surprised Issei, who wasn't expecting that, so Issei decided that there wouldn't be a problem if he told her about Seraphol. That's what he hoped, and that's where he told her how he met her, and they had their picnics, and they spent their time talking, and when it was their last farewell where they promised that they would see each other again, since she was his Sarah-chan and he was her ice-kun. At first Office didn't say anything, just a jealous face, but then she changed to a calm one where she told him that she understood, and that was expected since dragons can practice polygamy. In the 10th month Issei and Office became a couple, and well, they still spend their time chatting and having some romantic moments. In the 11th month it was the same, and sometimes Issei chatted with Red when Office left for a moment and then came back so they could spend time together. In the last month this office came out of the breach and told Issei that she would return around the end of the month or in the middle, and so it was during those days Issei spent time talking to Red or Drake, where Drake told him that now because of his power, there is a bear who would like to talk to him. This confused Issei and he asked him if he could talk to him any day, and he answered yes, then Issei told him that he would talk to him another time. It was already the last day that Issei would be in the dimensional gap, and Red asked him what he would do from now on, and Issei replied that he would return to his city, and that he would try to contact the supernatural world to introduce himself properly, and Red told him that he had gone ahead and sent a letter to all the factions, that there was now a new dragon god, and that he only had to introduce himself, thus making things easier for Issei. Just as he got up to leave, a gap opened and Office came out. Issei. Office, I was just leaving, why did you take so long? Office. Well, I was doing some things and I didn't think it would take so long, but I did it, so here Ice, while handing him a credit card along with some keys, and Issei asked what that was. Well, what you have in your hands is a card with infinite money that works in the human world and in the supernatural, so you don't have financial problems, or in case you want to buy clothes, and that and the keys you have are those of your new house located in your hometown. Issei. Oh, Office-chan, thank you, while he hugged her and kissed her on the forehead, while Office blushed. Office. Well, I'll visit you from time to time, and I'll also need to meet the others. Oh, and here, while giving her a piece of paper, the address is written down there. Issei. Yeah, well, goodbye old man, and Office-chan, while opening a gap and entering it. Human world, Kuo City. High up in the mountains near the city, a gap opened, through which our protagonist emerged. Issei. Nothing has changed, only that there are two demonic presences around here, they must surely be high class, and in the church there are presences of fallen angels, that must be their lair, but the best thing would be to know where I will stay, then I will deal with them, while looking at the paper that Office gave him with the address of the house. As Issei walked through the city, he received glances from women like men, from women they were perverted glances, along with dreamers who accompanied them with notable blushes, and to Issei's amusement, he gave them a smile along with a wink that sometimes caused the young women to faint, and at other times a big blush that even made them smoke from their ears. With men, there were looks of envy and a few of admiration, but they were more of envy because he had all the attention of the women and a few married ones, only those who had bad marriages, and the unfaithful ones be. The reason for all the fuss was because the suit he was wearing was too big and made his body stand out like that of the bug of CR7, for those who don't know who the bug is. Until he was able to reach the place where his new house was, but only when he entered that street it seemed familiar to him, and he continued walking until he reached one where the address matched the one on the sheet, and when he saw it, well, he could notice that where the house was before was his own. But he was more surprised by the house that was in front of his eyes, since he showed it to him better. Issei. Well, Office, you really surprised me, and when I see you, I will definitely compensate you. As he entered the courtyard of the house and realized that it had a barrier that they could not attack or destroy, so as to see what was happening inside it, so that our protagonist would have privacy, and thus entering the house while closing the door behind him. Note. Issei will have sports cars. If you have one that you like, comment on it, and we will see if it appears or not. He will only have 6 and 2 motorcycles. I think the one I like is this one, the Bugatti Divo. Guo Academy. You can see our protagonist sleeping peacefully in a large bed. Everything was going well until the sun's rays passed through the curtains and hit his eyes, causing discomfort and waking him up. Issei. Ah, damn, this is the first time after 17 years, well, even though there are more in the gap, but where I sleep in such a comfortable bed, and something called the sun comes and hits me in the face and right in the eyes. Greg. Stop complaining, you're keeping me up at night. Issei. TCH, damn super developed lizard, how you only spend your time sleeping. Greg. CC to hell. Well, Issei, in order not to take it any further, got up to go to the bathroom and take a bath. Issei. Even though Office exaggerated, I'm not complaining, I can indulge myself while I was in a large bathtub for 2 people, even though I haven't fully explored the house to end up completely submerging myself. And so our protagonist's day began, returning from his room to change into black dress shoes, along with black pants and a white shirt and a black jacket. The image, my dear readers. Copyright reserved to the author. Issei. While leaving the clothes room and adjusting his jacket and its sleeves, well, let's see what surprises you left me, Office. And so it was where Issei began to tour the house that Office had given him, where he toured all the rooms that were on the 3rd and 2nd floor, where there were around 21 rooms, counting his, where each room was spacious inside and had a desk along with a computer, a large flat screen, like a closet, and a wide bed, but not too much. In addition to having a room with an integrated bathroom, in addition to that on the 2nd floor, there was a room that looked like an office, also like having a bar where there were various alcoholic beverages, but the best for dragons was apple distillate, along with a pool table, in addition to a small library. While on the ground floor it was divided into two parts where on one side there was a large kitchen along with a large long dining room for 12 people, and there was a note in it, but he decided to read it until the end of his tour, and on the other, where the door was there was a living room with a large room with a coffee table. In addition to a 110-inch flat screen that brought all the Japanese and international channels, in addition to the channels that were in the underworld, in addition to having a large fish tank with various types of fish and beautiful decoration, such as marine plants and corals, but the most notable thing about the aquarium is that there were two dragon statues in the bottom. And to finish his tour he only had the garage left, or so he thought, when he saw another door next to the garage where there was a plaque on it, and when he entered and took a look he saw that it was a large room where he could notice that there were several magic shields to withstand a great power like his, but Issei decided to reinforce them more just in case and left from there and finally entered the garage and saw that there were two cars covered by a blanket and a motorcycle. Then Issei decided to remove it from the car first and smile at what he had in front of him. It was a sports car from the Bugatti brand and it was the Divo model, so I went over to the other car and pulled back the cover to see what the new Bugatti model was, which was La Voiture Noire, which is a beautiful car just like the Divo. I finished removing the blanket from the bike and see that it was a BMW sports bike and it was the S1000RR. Issei. I think I will reward you too much, office, and thank you for these gifts, while leaving the garage to go up to read the note. Note. Dear Issei, I hope you like the house and the gifts I left you in the garage. In addition, I enrolled you in the Kuo Academy, which is in the city. You just have to bring the papers that are in your desk in the right drawer. P.S. You can't refuse, and I'll also be visiting you from time to time, so I look forward to seeing you again. At office. Issei. There is no other choice. Well, let's do it quickly since I want to play his box. Well, he headed to his office for the papers. Minutes later. Issei. Should I don't know which one to take. While sitting on the garage floor looking at his two cars and the motorcycle that were in front of him, we have the La Voiture Noire, which looks beautiful and elegant, and on the other hand the Divo, which is equally beautiful and elegant, and finally the BMW, which left me speechless. Drake chooses one. Drake. In my opinion, I think that this time you have to use the motorcycle because, damn, we have a FIFA match pending. Issei. True, but how the hell do you think you're going to play if you're in the boosted gear? Drake. Easy, I just create an Xbox controller and we connect it and that's it, we can play. Issei. True, well, time to go. Well, he got up from the ground and shook off his suit. I hope I don't attract attention. While he got on the motorcycle to turn it on and get home and leave the garage to head to the Kuo Academy. While heading to the academy he increased the speed of the bike, causing a small wheelie in the process, and continuing on his way until reaching the academy and seeing that there were several students with their respective academy uniforms. They were at the entrance assuming that they were on break, so deciding to slow down and at the same time calling the attention of those who were at the entrance until he was in front of the academy, where everyone started to murmur about who he was, and a few kids saying that they would like to have a bike like that and others, well, saying that he was a daddy's boy. So he turned off the bike and got off it, then took off his helmet, making several girls at the academy blush and causing jealousy in some boys because of his attractiveness, in addition to attracting the attention of the girls. While Issei didn't care, so he approached a brown-haired girl who had her hair tied up in two red ribbons, as well as having white skin and a figure that was proportionate on both sides, although she had a little more chest but not exaggerated. Issei. Excuse me, do you know where the principal's office is? While at the end he gave her a smile that made her blush more than she already was. Aido, yes, if you want I can guide you there. Well, she had a big blush that looked like a tomato. Issei. It will be a pleasure to have a beautiful girl guide me, so let's go. While offering his left arm, which was instantly grabbed by the girl. Thus, they made their way to the director's office to hand over the missing papers, while the two received glances from men and women, but both genders gave off jealousy, while the girl walked next to our black-haired boy with a smile from ear to ear. Issei. Well, we go to the office. I would like to know the name of the beautiful girl I have next to me. Murayama. Well, blushing Mew. Murayama, that's my name. Issei. It's a pleasure to meet you, Murayama. I'm Issei. Murayama. Likewise, Issei, it's a pleasure to meet you. By the way, are you going to enroll in the academy, right? Issei. Yes, I just came to deliver some missing papers. While they stopped in front of a double door where there was a plaque that said Director. Murayama. Oh, I see. Well, Issei, this was all the way, so I hope to see you again, or that we are in the same class, so goodbye. While he turned around to walk away and waving goodbye to our protagonist. Issei. Yes, I hope to see you again, Murayama, while watching him walk away, then entering the office and seeing a beautiful woman with glasses sitting at a desk signing some papers, and then Issei sat in front of the desk and the man paid attention to her. Director. What brings you here, young man? Issei. I came to deliver some missing papers to enroll in the academy. Director. Oh, so you are Issei Hyoudou. Yes, I received some registration papers and only a few were missing, and it's good that you came personally since I need you to take an entrance exam and you have 3 hours to finish it, so give your best effort while giving him an exam, and Issei received it. Issei. Oh yes, there is no problem, and here are the papers while giving him the missing papers. Well, if you allow me, I have an exam to finish. And only 2 hours passed and our protagonist handed the exam to the director, who was surprised that he had finished it in only 2 hours and entered it into a machine to get the grade, and only 10 minutes passed for the director to get the grade, and he was even more surprised by the grade. Principal. I have to say that you have been the first of the boys to get the best score on the entrance exam, but if we compare you with the best of the ladies who only got one wrong, you are the best student with the best score, so I congratulate you, young Hyoudou, and about the classroom you are going to be assigned to. Wait until tomorrow and go to the student council room where they will tell you which classroom you were assigned to. Issei. Thank you. One question, can I know the name of the one who got the highest score from the ladies? Director. Oh yes, her name is Saonishitori. She is the current president of the student council, so that would be it, young Hyoudou. It will be a pleasure to have you in our facilities, while stretching out her right hand. Issei. Well, for me it is a pleasure to be a student of this academy, so thank you and have a great day, while shaking hands. Well, I'm leaving. Thus leaving the principal's office and seeing that there were not many students outside, indicating that they were returning to resume their classes, while Issei was going to turn the corner to continue walking to the exit, but ended up colliding with someone, in addition to the things he was carrying falling. Issei. Sorry, I didn't notice while he bent down to pick up papers and books he was carrying. Don't worry, it wasn't all your fault. While I was looking for something I can't find them where they are. Issei. Excuse me, what are you looking for? Well, he finished gathering some papers and putting them on top of the others and turned to look at her and noticed that she had glasses tangled in her hair. I don't know where my glasses fell. While I continued searching. Issei. Well, what do you think if we get up from the ground and search better, because you're going to get dirty? While he stood up with the documents and offered her his hand, which she accepted, raising it so they could start shaking each other. Well, I think I know where your glasses are. Seriously, where are they? Well, he started to look around. Issei. Yes, well, if you allow me. While he approached her and grabbed her hair and grabbed the glasses to carefully remove them. Well, here they are. While he handed her the glasses. Tsubaki. Gracia. While she was blushing from the embarrassment she felt for not having realized, and she adjusted her glasses. Well, let me introduce myself, I'm Tsubaki Shinra, and are you? Well, she looked at him carefully, since without the glasses she could hardly see, and realized that he was a tall black-haired boy who, in addition to not being ugly at all, was the complete opposite, in addition to a physique that the suit hardly helped him at all, and having purple eyes that you would get lost in a single glance. Issei. I'm Issei Hyoudou, nice to meet you, Tsubaki, you can call me Issei without any problem, while bowing and sending him a smile that made Tsubaki blush for a moment. Tsubaki. Oh yes, I will take that into account. Issei, you came to register, right? Issei. Oh yes, surely. You mean, why haven't you seen me around here? Besides that, I come from the principal's office, or am I wrong? Tsubaki. No, you are completely right. Well, I don't have time for more talk, I have things to do at the council, so would you mind if you gave me back the papers? Issei. I'll help you, after all I want to get to know the academy a little, and what better way than this, besides there are several documents and they are heavy, so what do you think if you allow me to accompany her and help her? Tsubaki-san. Tsubaki. Okay, if there is no other way, please follow me, Issei-san, while heading towards the student council. And that's where Issei helped Tsubaki, who on the way talked a little, where he found out that she was the vice president of the student council, in addition to the fact that the academy was previously for girls but became mixed this year, where Tsubaki told him that there were several cases of perverted boys who only entered this academy to spy on the girls in the locker rooms or try to make their harem, causing a little displeasure for those boys who did that. After all, he was one of them, and thus arriving at the door of the student council. Tsubaki. That would be all, so thanks Issei for helping me, and I hope you are not the same as those perverted boys, so goodbye. Issei. Yes, I will always help you in any way I can, so don't hesitate to ask for it, while handing the papers to Tsubaki. Well, goodbye, I hope to see you again. While Issei made his way out of the academy and Tsubaki entered the student council room, thus ending their little meeting. Student council. Tsubaki. There's something strange about that boy, as if he were hiding something while arranging some papers. Leaving the academy. Issei. Wow, my second encounter, and with a demon. It's going to be interesting what happens here in this academy. While he got on his motorcycle and then turned it on and drove to his house to play a few games of FIFA with the Drake. Hyoudou home. Issei. Sigh, ooh, my goodness, what a goal from that bug while celebrating CR7. While next to him there was a small drake that looked like a stuffed animal crying for having lost 10-0. And so they spent their time playing video games where Drake sometimes beat Issei and Issei beat him most of the time, so that after all that time, Drake got fed up and went to sleep in the boosted gear. While Issei went to prepare a small dinner since he hadn't eaten all day, where he prepared a buffet for about 8 people, where Drake came out to try his food and ended up fascinated by the flavor. When they finished dinner, you could see a Drake with food stains lying on his head sleeping in the kitchen. While Issei picked up all the dishes they used to put them in the sink and start cleaning them. Once clean he put them in their respective place and went to the table to clean it, but since Drake was sleeping there, he decided to use it as a rag, thus passing it over the entire table that was clean and shiny, while Drake was the opposite. To finally go to his room to change into sleeping clothes, where he only came out with sleeping pants and with his torso naked, and then lay down on his bed, where after a few minutes he fell asleep, thus ending the day of our protagonist, thus ending the first day of the week. It was a new day in Kuo City, and like any good day we have a beautiful and bastard sun that wakes us up in the mornings, shining in the eyes of our protagonist, waking him up, and well, he didn't have a nicer face than having woken up like that, heading to the bathroom to take a shower. As the minutes passed, our black-haired boy came out with a relaxed face and a satisfactory look, thus heading to his wardrobe to put on the Kuo Academy uniform, but before he put on the academy jacket, he decided to put on a formal black vest and then put on the jacket, giving it an elegant style. Thus heading to his large kitchen, where he prepared a light breakfast consisting of some eggs with toast and bacon, but preparing 2 plates, one for him and the other for Drake, and thus finishing cooking and bringing the plates to the table, where Drake was seen serving 2 glasses of orange juice and then starting to taste the food that Issei prepared. When he finished breakfast he looked at the time and saw that he was running a little late and that he had 15 minutes to get to the academy, so he quickly took the dishes to the sink to leave a Drake to wash them, well, the attempt to wash them grabbing his briefcase. Thus heading quickly to his garage to get on his motorcycle and go to the academy at high speed and dodging the cars, as well as attracting the attention of the people who were walking at the speed with which he goes, until he saw the academy in the distance and slowing down a little, but still attracting the attention of the students with the sound of the engine, and entering the teacher's parking lot, leaving it in an available spot. So grabbing only his briefcase and returning to the entrance of the academy, where he was the center of attention, since there were several groups murmuring things like that he was the first to have all the correct answers, that he is smarter than the student council president, in addition to the part of the ladies you could hear, that he is more handsome than Kiba. That there was another prince in the academy, in addition to receiving a few unholy looks from the men. It was great, another pretty boy, or he must be a daddy's boy for the motorcycle he was riding, while he received looks of admiration for the point he got and others of envy and jealousy. Without caring anymore, he continued on his way to the student council to receive the information about his assigned classroom. After a while he arrived at the door of the council, where he knocked and then received a pass, thus entering and seeing that there were only 2 black-haired girls. One with short hair and violet eyes with red-framed glasses, as well as having a beauty that for a moment Issei saw his dear Serafal, slightly moving his head from side to side to undo those thoughts, sitting behind a desk reading some papers. While the other brunette was at her side, and there she could appreciate her better that she had beautiful hair reaching more than half of her sword, in addition to having heterochromic bangs, in addition to having beautiful light brown eyes, in addition to using blue semi-rimmed glasses with square lenses, in addition to having a beautiful figure with slightly large breasts, in addition to being accompanied by firm legs with a beautiful and firm butt that could not be seen well because of the skirt, but it fit, giving her a clock figure along with beautiful white skin that looked soft as silk. Issei. Good morning, President and Vice President of the Student Council, while bowing. Sona, I'll call her Sona instead of Sauna. Good morning, you're probably the new student at the academy. Well, she stopped reading the documents that were in front of her. Besides being the one who got a better score than me on the exam, congratulations. Let me introduce myself. I'm Sauna Shitori, President of the Student Council. Nice to meet you, Hyoudou. Issei. Issei. That's right, but it's my pleasure to meet the student council president, as well as the lady who got a better result before I entered. Although I already had a small meeting with the vice president yesterday, it's still a pleasure to meet her, giving a smile that made Tsubaki blush for a moment, who looked away. Sona. You flatter me. While she adjusted her glasses, but changing the subject, you came for the information about the classroom you were assigned to, right? Issei. You are correct, President. Sona. Well, you're in class 2C. You just have to hand in this paper so the teacher can let you in. So that would be all. Oh, one more thing. I hope we can have a chat another time. I'd like to know what you're capable of. Issei. If there is no problem with that, so I leave while grabbing the paper that Sona gave him. See you later, Tsubaki-san, while leaving the place. Tsubaki. And what do you think of the president? While turning to look at Sona and seeing that she was in a thoughtful pose as if she wanted to remember something. President, is everything okay? Sona. Ah yes, I'm fine thanks, I was just trying to remember something, and about Hyoudou, he has a mysterious aura, although very similar to that of a normal human, his is somewhat different. Tsubaki. He believes that he is related to the supernatural world or that he has a sacred gear. Sona. Both are possible answers, so if he has a sacred gear we will convince him to join my nobility, and if he refuses, well we convince him to at least be an ally of us. Tsubaki. Well, what are we going to do with the boy called Saji? Sona. Well I think he can wait, well that is if Riaz doesn't come and reincarnates him, so let's let things continue. While she continued reading some papers. Hyoudou Issei, where have I heard that name before? While with Issei, well, he was arriving at his classroom until he knocked where the math teacher opened the door where Issei gave him the note and told him to wait a moment and come in when he called him. Teacher. Okay guys, I'm sorry for interrupting the class, but I have news about a new student who will be in this class. Well I saw the men making dreamy faces that she is a pretty girl, and I mean she is a boy, so that you don't think she is a beautiful girl, and all that while destroying the hope of the men, and the hope of the women was born. Okay boy, you can enter. While Issei entered and went to the blackboard and wrote his name and a part where the operations they were performing were not, then turned around and saw that the girl named Murayama who he met yesterday was there and was surprised to see him in her class. Issei. I'm Hyoudou Issei, it's a pleasure to meet you, while making a reference and giving them a sincere smile. Teacher. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Hyoudou? Well he saw several women raising their hands and a few men to choose a man who was over there. Let's see, while he pointed at him. Is it true that you got the best score for the scoring test? Issei. If all that is true, another question. While watching the teacher let him choose whoever he wanted while he chose a girl. Partner. Do you have a girlfriend or are you single? Well she had a little blush at the smile that Issei gave her. Issei. I'm single at the moment. While watching several people making happy faces. Another question. You're a virgin, said a girl with pink glasses, braids and a slightly perverted smile, in addition to making most of the girls and the teacher blush a little. Issei. To tell the truth, I almost lost her while remembering the moments when he was almost raped by Office, but that doesn't mean I don't have information about Hex blushing most of the women along with the teacher. Teacher. Okay, enough with the questions, we have to continue with the class, you can take a seat. Hyoudou. Issei. Thank you sensei. While he headed to the seat next to the window so that the class could continue, while Issei stayed looking out the window. So, after a while, the teacher got tired of him being like that and decided to put a problem on the board that everyone was surprised because they didn't understand it since it had things they didn't see on how to solve it. Teacher. Young Hyoudou calling his attention. Since you are not paying attention in my class, it means you already know about the subject, so would you mind going to the blackboard to solve it? Issei. I can't deny it, right sensei, receiving a denial from this and also having a confident face that he wouldn't know how to solve it well. As he got up from his seat to go to the front of the blackboard under the watchful eyes of everyone and a look of superiority from some of the men, knowing that he would be humiliated in front of everyone and that he was just a pretty-faced boy. While in front of the blackboard he stood there staring at the problem until he grabbed the marker and began to solve it in front of everyone's eyes until he finished, where he decided to return the marker to a surprised teacher and return to his seat. Teacher. Well, all that remains is to verify if Hyoudou's result is correct. While she began to solve the problem. The more she solved it, she realized that they had the same procedure where few of the group were surprised by the coincidence they had, so that the teacher continued solving the problem until it was finished, leaving the entire group surprised by the result that the teacher gave because it coincided with that of the teacher. Teacher. Hyoudou, how could you solve it if we haven't seen this yet? Issei. Well, I've been studying a little, in addition to going to private classes. Teacher. Okay, let's continue with the class. While they continued with the class until the bell rang. They continued taking their classes until the break time came, which at the moment of the break the girls surrounded Issei, where they told him to eat with them or to give them tutoring after class. But Issei did not know how to free himself until it occurred to him to say that a 3-peso coin had fallen, where they all looked at the ground without finding anything, and when they looked up our protagonist was no longer there. Starting a chase for Issei where the other girls from other groups joined while he was escaping from that swarm of girls until it occurred to him to go to the roof of the academy, thus giving a feint and going straight to the stairs of the roof, thus reaching it where he was able to free her. Issei. Well, giving a heavy sigh, I wonder if it will be like this from now on with him. While he was leaning on the railing of the school, looking at the landscape that it offered him until he felt someone's gaze, turning instinctively to look at him and meeting a red-haired girl with a good body shaped like a clock who was looking at him. Upon seeing her, the girl continued on her way, while Issei downplayed it to continue enjoying the view and the wind that caressed his face. Until the bell rang, thus returning everyone to their little suffering, well except for Issei, because all the topics they saw were a piece of cake, so sometimes he fell half asleep or got distracted with anything, causing the teachers to ask him constant questions, answering each one correctly. Leaving both the teachers and his classmates surprised and causing some to become jealous in order to get more attention from the girls. Until it was the final touch indicating that it was the end of classes and the beginning of the clubs where again several girls surrounded Issei telling him to join their clubs, flatly denying each request saying that he had to go home to study. Thus freeing himself from them to get up from his place and take off his jacket to put it on his forearm and grab his briefcase to head to the parking lot where his motorcycle was to return home. Upon arriving at the parking lot, he was in for a little surprise and, to his a little annoyance, there was a group of 5 boys with arrogant faces around the motorcycle, talking calmly until they saw our protagonist, causing them to smile. As a group of girls were passing by, they decided to stay and see what was happening. I will abbreviate the word so instead of putting academy student I will put EA. EA1. Oh look who arrived guys, the new Prince Kuo. EA2. Hahaha it would be a pain if you lost that pretty face while cracking his knuckles. EA3. After all, you have to meet the bosses of this place, so we took a little of our time to give you a warm welcome. As they slowly approached and surrounded him, the group of girls, instead of doing anything started recording. EA4. Well let's start this because I'm already bored. While EA4 was directing a punch at Issei's face, he dodged it by crouching, causing the blow to hit EA3, thus provoking the anger of the 5 to launch all 5 against him, where Issei only deserved to dodge, although he was still carrying his things, moving with great agility, dodging blow after blow, causing more anger from the boys and surprise from the girls. So that from one moment to the next Issei left his things near his motorcycle and caught the attention of the 5. Issei. Okay guys, I didn't want any trouble, but you guys came out so hurry up because I'm already getting bored, while he folded his sleeves up to below his elbow and put his hands in his pockets. Provoking their anger, one of them launched himself to unleash several combos of blows that Issei ended up dodging very easily, then another of them tried to take advantage of this moment to get to him from behind to keep him still, but ended up receiving a blow from his partner. Issei. Well since you couldn't hurry up I'll do it while he stood on guard. At the moment of getting on guard, 2 of them launched themselves to attack so that Issei could dodge the 2 blows and hit them in the stomach, knocking the air out of them and leaving them on the ground unconscious so that another could take advantage of Issei's distraction and tried to land a right hook on his face. But our protagonist ended up covering him and also took advantage of that moment to use both of his hands to lower his head and knee him, causing his nose to break and causing him to be unconscious. Provoking fear in both of them, but still one of them launching himself to try to land a punch in the face, where Issei received it with his open hand, so that from one moment to another it bent without breaking, causing him pain, making him kneel and try to endure the pain. While the other positioned himself behind him and threw a punch at him, but before he reached his target, he ended up receiving an elbow in the face, breaking his lower lip stepping back and seeing that Issei still had not released his partner, causing the latter's suffering by still having his hand bent, so that from one moment to another, Issei landed a punch in the face falling into unconsciousness. And turned to see the last one left who tried to approach to land a right hook on his ribs, but ended up receiving a side kick to the leg, causing him to kneel a little, so that this Issei took advantage to approach and give him another kick in the bent leg, causing him to move, and Issei taking advantage of the movement, he would hit the cheek, causing him to fall unconscious just like his friend so. That Issei would go to his motorcycle to grab his things and get on it to turn it on and leave the parking lot without knowing that it was recorded, but not taking it seriously and thus heading home where he spent a quiet afternoon playing pool with Drag. New relationships. Normal. After the attempted humiliation by the group of those boys and receiving a beating or rather massacre, humiliation whatever you think it was, but the point is that they were humiliated. Issei arrived at his house or mansion, whatever you think, leaving his motorcycle in the garage and then going up to the main floor where he received a notification on his cell phone about a video that was posted on the Academy's networks where he assumed it would be about his fight, but he ended up watching it just in case. Where a complete massacre and humiliation is shown where the video had many views and likes, thus satisfying Issei where it would be more fun for him from now on at the Academy. So, putting it down, he headed to his kitchen where he once again began to prepare a buffet for his dear companion Drake, where he spent about an hour preparing everything and then bringing it to the table, where Drake came out from who knows where and began to eat as if he were a dog, in addition to becoming dirty again from the food. And an Issei eating peacefully accompanying his food with a wine from those he had in his warehouse. After a while his food was finished like half of the bottle of wine. After finishing dinner, I take all the dishes I use to the sink, once there I start cleaning and washing them, leaving them in the drainer. After finishing cleaning, he walked slowly towards the living room with a glass of wine in one hand and the bottle in the other. Upon arriving, he decided to check his aquarium to see if the filter and water needed to be changed or if one of the fish he had died. Seeing that it was still just as clean and without a single weight loss, in addition to checking if the feeder still had food, seeing that nothing was needed and returning to the living room and sitting in a reclining chair, placing his glass and the bottle on a glass table that was there. To grab the screen control and turn it on just like a video game console I had and grab the control to play. To start playing Gears of War since you were interested in that game, starting with Act 1. Well, Drake arrived at the couch with a bag of Cheetos and opened them to start eating. Drake. Hey Issei, from what I saw in your memories you met a girl named Sana Shitori, right? While eating a Cheeto. Issei. That's right, why do you ask? Well, continuing to play. Drake. Because the last name sounds familiar to me, as if we had heard it before while eating another Cheeto. Issei. Well, I never paid attention to her, and I'm sure you know that she's a demon. Dryag. Aha, but the last name will not be familiar to you with a demonic house. Issei. Aha, but tell me what your point is if you know, why don't you tell me while pausing the game and turning to look at it, seeing that there was a Drake smeared with Cheetos all over his face and paused. Drake. Well, just think of a demon house with the letter S and compare it to Shitori. Issei. Well, the one that came to mind is the Citri clan where Serafol belongs, and if we compare it with the Shitori there is a similarity, but if we analyze it with the clans that exist, there is none, so it must be a new clan. Drake. Hey, but if we remove the letter H and the O, what would it say? Issei. Well, very easy Citri until he started to analyze it and realized no way, how could I not realize it, I'm really stupid, but we have to see if he's from the Citri clan or not. Drake. Well, we have to keep an eye on her, she must still be at the academy, so why don't we go before she leaves? Issei. Good idea, and I was thinking of seeing what he's up to with me, since he surely suspects me while he stood up, so let's go. So they could go down to the garage and see that a motorcycle they bought in the afternoon had arrived. It was a Harley Davidson from 1955. While getting on this one to turn it on, you will hear enough engine, thus leaving the garage with this one. Thus heading to the academy since it was beginning to get dark, assuming that they would still be there until reaching the entrance of the academy, so that Issei and Drake would be surrounded by a magic circle, so that they would not be seen and heard, like feeling their presence or smell, and then heading to the student council. Guo Academy Student Council Room. There were only two black-haired women in this room with great beauty and intelligence, and they were none other than the vice president and president, or better known as Sana Shitori and Tsubaki Shinra. Sona was behind a desk finishing signing and reading some papers and handing them to Tsubaki, who arranged and organized them and then put them in a folder. Sona. Ah, well, stretching, I was finally able to finish that heavy paperwork. Well, Tsubaki, we have to go fast so he doesn't interfere. Tsubaki. It's about Hyoudou, right, President? Sona. Yes, he is someone who has really caught my attention and his name seems familiar to me. Tsubaki. Well, if that's the case I have no problem with your decision. Sona. I'm glad you don't oppose my decision, Tsubaki, but we have to go with her at once, but first of all you know that you can call me by my name, right? In the end we are friends. While she got up from her seat. Tsubaki. Yes, President, but I have a lot of respect for you since I was reincarnated and it is a little uncomfortable and difficult for me to address you by your name. Sona. Okay, but try calling me by my name, Tsubaki. Tsubaki. Yes, Sona while opening the door for her to leave the student council. While next to the door where they came out, there was an Issei leaning against the wall with a Drake resting on his head while they continued walking as if nothing had happened. Issei. You know you can get into the boosted gear to rest, right, as he started to walk behind them. Drake. Yes, but you know how long I've been sealed and this is the first time I can get out of the boosted as many times as necessary, plus it will be interesting to see what happens with that Ria's Gremory. Issei. Well, there's nothing we can do with you now, so let's continue. As Sona and Tsubaki continued walking, they did not notice the presence of Issei and Drake until they left the facilities and then went to the back of the academy and reached a building that seemed abandoned. Sona. Well, we arrived, let's see what's happening with her, so let's go in. While they headed to the entrance and then the two of them entered. Drake. Why didn't you go in with them? While looking at the entrance where they entered. Issei. Well, because I don't like things to be easy, besides they are going to be in that room, well, pointing to a window that was open, so let's go at once. As he began to climb the building Assassin's Creed style until he reached it, where he sat on the edge of it while leaning on the frame, well, he began to examine the room and saw that there was a desk, two armchairs facing each other with a coffee table separating them, and a bookshelf with books as well as a chessboard. Issei. It has an elegant style, plus there are 3 presences of girls in the other room heading this way along with a boy. Greg. I don't know why you're telling me this, but oh there are cookies as he started to fly, but was stopped by a hand on his tail. Hey, what's wrong with you? Issei. Calm down, what we want is for them not to discover us, besides we have more cookies than you can eat at home, so you better get into the boosted gear so you don't cause problems. Greg. TCH, I just wanted a cookie, but oh well, while turning into a red sphere that entered Issei's left hand. As they entered the room, a beautiful young girl, with a voluptuous clock-shaped figure, a fair skin tone, blue eyes, and crimson red hair. Her most distinctive feature is her long crimson red hair that reaches down to her thighs, with a single strand of hair sticking out at the top. Her hair also has loose bangs covering her forehead and side bangs, framing her beautiful face. Along with another beautiful girl, I mean beautiful, a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, very long black hair and violet eyes that make her more beautiful. Her hair is usually tied in a long ponytail, reaching down to her legs with 2 strands sticking out from the top and leaning back, with an orange ribbon holding it in place, while Issei was stunned by her appearance alone. Then a little girl with white hair and golden eyes came in. The front of her hair has 2 long locks that go past her shoulders, and several loose locks that hang over her forehead, while the back has a short cut. She also wears a black cat-shaped hair clip on both sides of her hair and a fully developing body. And finally a beautiful princess will enter, I mean an effeminate boy, sorry, I mean a guy who was the Prince of Kuo with blonde hair and I don't remember what else. The end. Boldereed sat on one of the armchairs and crossed her legs while the brunette served her a cup of tea that she accepted, while the little white-haired girl sat on the other armchair and began to eat sweets from a bag she had, and the blonde man sat next to the white-haired girl and began to read a book. Then 3 knocks were heard on the door and the brunette went to open it. Akeno. Ara, that's what brings the president and vice president of the student council here. Sona. Hello Akeno, Riaz is here, I need to talk to her. Akeno. Of course, come in, while putting on her classic smile which I like and touching her cheek with one hand, while she moved to the side for them to enter. Wouldn't you like a cup of tea? Sona. Thanks, hello Riaz, how have you been? Well, they sat on the chair in front of Riaz, which was now empty. Riaz. Well, thanks for asking Sona, and how are things going in the student council? While taking another sip of her tea. Sona. As always there is a lot of paperwork and problems with students, while taking a sip of tea as always. Akeno-san making delicious tea. Akeno. While she was near the window where Issei was, who did not take his eyes off her. Ara, thank you for your compliment, President. Sona. But changing the subject, I came to talk about the academy's new student, Issei Hyoudou. Riaz. Let me guess, you don't want me to butt in, do you? Sona. That's right, from what I've seen he's an interesting boy, even though I can feel a human aura, I feel like he's hiding something powerful. Riaz. So we just have to wait to see what he shows us so we can reincarnate him, but what if he rejects both of us? Sona. Just don't fight for it, whoever accepts it first gets it, and if not, then we try to make it an ally. Akeno. At least we can seduce him while putting on an innocent face. Issei. Well, I won't do that first, while forming a half smile, well Akeno didn't know why, but she got a little chill and a little blush formed. Sona. This one, I don't know if it's possible, while she had a little blush, but she tried to control it. Akeno. Ara, then there is no problem, right? While still blushing slightly. Sona. No, there wouldn't be, but we don't know what kind of person he is, but well, it would just be that way so that we don't have problems because of him, so I think I'll leave. We'll see each other another time, and we need to watch his video. While she got up from where they were sitting and headed for the door. Riaz. Yes, I hope we see each other again. Sona, while watching them leave the room. Well, we have contracts to make, so go do them. While she sat at the desk to start doing paperwork for the contracts, and etc. Issei. Well, we already know what they plan to do, so I better go. While he let himself fall from the window, so that he had a hero landing, and headed to the entrance to return to his house. Hyoudou residence. Issei is seen entering his garage, leaving the Harley Davidson next to the BMW, where a Drake came out of the gauntlet to quickly go to the kitchen, while Issei changed his clothes using a magic circle and undoing the concealment spell. Wearing sportswear consisting of black shorts and a short-sleeved shirt of the same black color, since it goes with everything, and of course some sports shoes, he headed to the training room, since he didn't have to be confident, or maybe he did, but he didn't want to lose his physical condition. Where once inside, he decided to change the room where he was before now for a mountainous area where there was a large space so he could do his routine and series of exercises, where before starting he decided to put on gravity and power seals and lower the gravity in the room even more. Where you could only see an Issei as if nothing was happening, but you could only see that he had a few drops of sweat that meant the effort he was making to stay standing like this, starting his little training. While in the kitchen, well, you can see a drag inside a plate or bowl as they call it in their country, where he was eating some cookies. Hyoudou residence, 1 hour before the academy entrance. The sweaty Issei can be seen with a towel around his neck, no shoes and a shirt, leaving the training room while wiping away the sweat that was still on his face. While he was heading to his room to take a shower, once there he entered the bathroom and after 10 minutes of a refreshing shower, he came out with a towel covering his private parts and leaving his torso exposed, which would leave any woman drooling. To go to his wardrobe, where after 10 minutes, he came out wearing the academy uniform, but with a black dress vest suit vest in case you don't get the idea, without the jacket or sweater, but instead of the classic ribbon they use, he decided to replace it with a black tie. So heading to the kitchen to make a light breakfast that consisted of orange juice, coffee, scrambled eggs with bacon and 2 slices of toast, when he finished cooking, he decided to eat it calmly, since he had half an hour to spare before leaving for the academy. Once finished he decided to take his dirty dishes to the sink and began to wash them leaving them in the drainer, and he went to brush his teeth. When he finished he decided to go to the academy again in his BMW. Once in it, he decided to start it and go to the academy. Academia Kuo. You can see an Issei arriving on his motorcycle, clearly drawing attention, but now it seemed that he had drawn more attention, and Issei had an idea of why. So he left the bike in the teacher's parking lot and headed to the main building to take his classes until the group of kids from yesterday arrived, who looked like they had some bruises but were obviously angry. "BA. Damn you, you won't pay for what you did to us, and I don't think you'll be able to humiliate us now, since there are more of us." While 5 other students from the karate or martial arts club approached. So the 10 students surrounded Issei, drawing the attention of the others to come closer to see what was happening. While Issei sketched a smile and left his briefcase on the ground while he rolled up his sleeves, when he finished one approached from behind to try to make a lock, but he ended up receiving an elbow in the nose, making him step back and start bleeding from the nose. Then 2 of them launched themselves to the sides, trying to hit him in the face, while Issei simply ducked and dodged the 2 blows, but they ended up hitting each other and becoming unconscious. So that the one who elbowed him with small traces of blood on his clothes would approach again and start throwing punches that Issei ended up blocking, and after blocking a punch, Issei would take advantage to knee him in the ribs, leaving him unconscious due to lack of air, leaving only 7 students. Then from one moment to the next, Issei would launch himself against one and try to kick him with his left leg that ended up being grabbed by the student, but the next thing would surprise everyone. Issei jumped and with his free leg, he kicked him in the face that he couldn't block, leaving him unconscious. And the last one he faced yesterday will approach and will try to land a punch in the stomach on Issei, who blocked it, and the student will try to take advantage of that to hit him in the face, which was also blocked and countered with a punch in the ribs, causing him to move away to try to catch his breath. But Issei will take advantage of that to kick him in the heel, causing the student to fall, and Issei will approach to hit him in the stomach that knocked him unconscious, leaving only the 5 boys from the boxing club. While Issei regained his composure and shook his uniform from the dust it was starting to have, but the remaining 5 students looked at each other with confident looks. Then he would launch one and try to connect a punch in the face, which Issei blocked and tried to hit him in the ribs, which was blocked, and thus starting a fight that the 2 ended, until Issei began to increase the speed of his punches, where he began to connect punches in the torso and in the face, where the student no longer had his defense and began to receive a beating. Where it was noticed that he was dizzy, so that Issei connected a kick in the stomach, thus throwing him backwards, leaving him unconscious, where it could be seen that they began to notice bruises on his face and blood coming out of his nose like a broken lip. Well, there were 4 students who looked a little worried and Issei began to approach them. 2 approached to try to connect a blow to Issei, who ended up blocking the 2 and giving him a blow to the stomach that made them back off, and Issei took momentum and launched himself to kick one in the stomach that made him kneel and take advantage of this to propel himself. Thus jumping and ending up giving a side kick to the face of another one, leaving him unconscious, to kick the one who was still kneeling to leave him unconscious. Well, there were only 2 left. One of them launched himself against Issei, but ended up receiving a blow to the chest that made him stop, and Issei gave him a side kick to the knee, making him kneel, and Issei jumped to do a spin and finished giving a kick with his heel in the face, causing him to spit out a little blood and leaving him unconscious. To leave only one who was a little scared when he saw how each of the 10 that were left were defeated, to leave only him alone, while Issei began to approach, causing him a little more fear until he was in front of him, where a great anger and a smile were noticed that the students, when seeing that smile, caused fear and respect for some. But for women it causes something very peculiar, something called excitement, and obviously a big blush. Issei carried him as if it were nothing by the collar of his shirt, while the student, seeing that look, saw the look of a dragon that caused him a lot of fear, where the only thing he did was faint. As Issei released him and looked around, the 10 of them were unconscious and a few were bleeding from their nose, where some students tried to carry them to take them to the infirmary, while the students began to leave where small murmurs were heard. So Issei headed towards his briefcase to pick it up to go to his classes. When he turned around he found Sona and Tsubaki, who looked serious. "Sona. Come with us," as she turned around to start walking with Tsubaki at her side and an Issei following them from behind. Student council room. "Sona. I'm surprised you're already starting to stir up conflicts, and the bad thing is that you sent 10 students to the infirmary while she was in front of her desk, leaning, while Issei was in front of her, fixing his uniform and shaking himself. Issei. I apologize, but I at least had to defend myself." Sona. "Yes, I know, just don't cause any more fights please." While receiving a statement from Issei, "Well, that's all, you can leave." While Tsubaki accompanied him to the entrance where they turned around for a moment. Issei. "Well, goodbye Tsubaki-san," while sending her a smile as he began to leave, but before leaving something stopped him and it was Tsubaki herself who only fixed his tie, even though she looked a little blushed. "Thank you," as she left completely. Sona. "Wow Tsubaki, you surprise me that you do that with a boy," while she adjusted her glasses and had a small smile. Tsubaki. "Don't get me wrong, but you said we need to get him closer to joining the entourage or being an ally." Sona. "Yes, I know, but well, let's get back to work," as she sat behind the desk to start signing and reading documents. Room 2D or 2B, I don't remember. You can see an Issei entering his classroom very calmly. The strange thing is that there was a lot of noise before he entered, now it is completely silent and he is the center of attention. But Issei didn't give a damn and continued walking to his seat, where once there a circle was formed around him and they started asking questions. How could he fight so well and not get hit? Does he want to go out to eat somewhere? Or the classic, "Make me a child" from the men, until the teacher came in and told them to take their seats to take class. Issei was again lost in the path of life, looking out the window, and again the teachers asked him questions or passed him to the blackboard, where he answered everything correctly, and with a very elegant and formal way of speaking, that even the students understood him better than the teachers, until the break came. Where our protagonist was going to go to the roof, since that place gave him peace, but he found Tsubaki carrying a box with documents and more documents on top that made it difficult for her to keep her balance. But what a good actress, but Issei, being a good gentleman, decided to go help her. Issei. "Hey Tsubaki, wouldn't you mind if I helped you with that?" while pointing at the box. Tsubaki. "Ah, not this one, never mind Hyoudou-kun," while giving him the box. "Thanks for your help." Issei. "You're welcome, after all a beautiful woman like you shouldn't be carrying heavy things," while Tsubaki was seen adjusting her glasses and with a slight blush. "Besides, I told you to leave aside the formalities and call me Issei or Ice at least." Tsubaki. "Well Issei-kun, by the way, you must practice a sport, right?" Well, they had a slow walk to go to the student council. Issei. "You say that because of the fight I had, right?" While receiving an affirmation from Tsubaki. "Well, before I practiced boxing, but I was more interested in mixed martial arts, which I still practice." "Do you also practice a sport?" Tsubaki. "Oh, that's why the flying kicks, and that's not it." While receiving a laugh from Issei and answering your question, "I've been practicing with the Naginata since I was little." Issei. "Oh, interesting, I hope that one day you show me your skill with the Naginata." While they stopped in front of the student council. Tsubaki. "If there is no problem, and I also hope that you teach me your fighting skills, or at least teach me some movements," while knocking on the door until receiving a pass, where Tsubaki entered followed by Issei, where he was in the room only ringing to stop signing and see who had entered. Sona. "Oh Hyoudou-kun, what brings you here?" Issei. "Well, I met Tsubaki and decided to help her with what she was carrying." Well, Tsubaki told her where to leave them. "Besides, I think you have a lot of work, don't you, President?" Sona. "Quite a lot." Well, it's always like that as a president, while relaxing in her seat. Issei. "How about I help you, after all I have nothing else to do," while Sona was thinking. This means sealed thoughts are being speaking within their bear. Sona. "I would reject the offer, since Tsubaki can help me with this, but this could be a faster way for him to be an ally or join my entourage. Well, I think I accept that he helps me." Issei. "Well, that's how you talk." While Sona gave him instructions on what he had to do, how to arrange them, order them and separate them to start working. The 3 of them were working, although Issei showed great skill, as if he had done this before, where he finished his part and asked for more, which surprised a pair of women, especially Sona, with how he worked and finished, until the bell rang that meant the end of the break. Issei. "Well, it was nice working with this, but don't hesitate to ask me for help with whatever you like," while giving them a smile, which made them both blush. "Well, I'm leaving," while walking out the door. Sona. "Boo. Well, she adjusted her glasses and controlled herself to hide her small blush. "I think that this way we can get closer to him, besides that he did a great job and made my work easier." While Issei was taking classes and in some giving them since he explained the subject better than his own teachers until the dismissal, where he went to the teacher's parking lot to leave from there with his motorcycle towards his house. And so it was for several days of the week where Sona asked him for help with paperwork, where they had little conversations when they worked alone or with Tsubaki, where at other times they took him out in the middle of their classes to help them, even though they knew he was the best in his class, so he would have no problems passing the exams or assignments. And so it was during the following weeks where Issei got to know Tsubaki better, in addition to meeting two of the members of the student council who came for him in his classroom. The first was a beautiful young woman with white hair and blue-green eyes with a voluptuous body with a splendid skin tone. Let's say that Hyoudou was speechless when he saw her. The second was a slim girl with long brown hair that ends in two short braids and matching eyes. She also wears a blue headband with a splendid body that was equally voluptuous with a skin color that made her look more beautiful. Where the little talk they had was the small beginning of a friendship, where they had small encounters or the two of them would go get him when Sona needed him, where sometimes they would stay chatting. Also where Issei began to ride another motorcycle that caught the attention of the students again, which was a Kawasaki Ninja H2R. And so it was for the next few weeks with the student council until a month passed, where one Monday morning Issei decided it was time to tell him the truth, but not the whole truth, or maybe yes. Guo Academy Student Council. Inside the room were Sona, Tsubaki, Momo, Ria and of course our protagonist, where he was working with Sona and Tsubaki, while Momo and Ria were having a little chat until he finished his work and got up from his place, thus calling the attention of the four. Well, they saw him approach the door and lock it and then turn around giving them a smile. Issei. I think it's time to introduce myself as it really should be, isn't that how it sounds, Citri? Well, Momo and Ria were surprised and saw that Issei created a magic circle so that what was happening inside could not be heard from outside the room. Sona. Well, you're right, Hyoudou-kun, so tell me who you really are, Hyoudou, Issei while having a serious face. Issei. Hahaha, well, let's start while sitting in the chair in front of Sun's desk. Also, what I'm going to say here will only remain between us, since you deserve to know, since you earned my trust. Thus beginning with his childhood, more specifically when he fell into a cave and found the two embedded swords, in addition to learning that he was the bearer of the Red Dragon Emperor, surprising them too much, until the death of his parents by a fallen angel, and his escape to the forest to be safe, and his little training that he had in the forest. Until the fight he had with that renegade demon. In addition to being kidnapped, where he met the dragon god of dreams and where he was trained by him in a personalized dimension, he spent a long time in there until he came out of there and reached the power of a god, or rather have the power of one, in addition to having all kinds of knowledge about the supernatural world, such as spells and perfecting his fighting and magic techniques. In addition to training with his sacred gear. In addition to spending a year in the dimensional gap so that his power would become accustomed to his body until his arrival in the city. When he finished telling his story, only 4 surprised women could be seen, although Sona and Tsubaki were doubting whether what he said was true or lie. Issei. Well, if you want I will show you so you see that it is not a lie. Well, he got up from his seat and put up a magical barrier that can withstand his power, and then the boosted gear appeared in its final evolution as his katana called in Tetsu in his right hand and began to expel his power. Which began to feel a great pressure in the room and see that this power surpassed each one of them and the 4 of them together, and see that their power of the 4 was a small part of all that power that he expelled. Sona. I'm sorry for being suspicious, but I wanted to see it with my own eyes while watching Issei's boosted gear disappear and his power drop to how it was before. Issei. If there's no problem, I expected it from you too, but I want to know who you are, Sana Shitori. Sona. The only thing I can say is that I come from the Citri family and my real name is Sona Citri, as you said before, in addition to the fact that I am a high-class devil like Ria's Gremory and that the student council is made up of the members of my entourage, in addition to the fact that we take care of this territory from the fallen angels and renegade devils. Issei. Well, before you do or say anything, I want to say that I do not intend to join an entourage, but you will have my support as well as that Ria's Gremory, whom I will go see later, because it is very easy. Dragons are proud. It would be an offense to me or my species to be controlled by someone. Sona. Ah, that's fine with me, as long as you're on my side or our side, that's enough for us. Issei. Oh, and I forgot to say something, and that is that I want to be on the student council. Sona. And that. Well, she looked surprised by the request. Issei. Well, I like being with you 4, besides I have nothing to do around here, so what do you say, Sona? Well, the aforementioned blushed for having called her by her name, like the remaining 3 since she said that she felt comfortable with them, causing a blush as well. Sona. It's this one is no problem, besides that for now we need the strength of a man so that they don't suspect anything, and you've helped us a lot with the paperwork, which then leaves me time to play chess or even relax, so welcome to the student council, Issei-kun. Issei. Haha, finally I hear you call me Issei, haha, well Sona blushed in embarrassment. And that's what happened during that day, where a new member of the student council was announced, and it was none other than our protagonist, causing a great stir among the boys, since he would be surrounded by beautiful girls, and that's even though he hasn't even introduced himself to the occult club. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.